My name is Katie, and I'm a nurse. My husband, Jack, is a full-time house husband now. He used to work for a company, but he quit because he didn't get along with his new boss. When Jack told me he quit, I was angry because he didn't talk to me about it first, but I tried to think positively and figured it was better that he quit before he got too stressed. Even though Jack isn't working now, I have a steady job as a nurse, and the house we live in was given to me by my mom, who passed away a few years ago, so we don't have to pay rent and are doing fine financially. At first, I was worried and stressed about Jack not working, but he was doing a good job with the housework, and I started getting used to the situation and even enjoying it. One day, I came home from work to find Jack's sister, Brittany, visiting. "Welcome home, hope you had a great day at work," Jack said. "Oh, I forgot to tell you Brittany was coming over, sorry about that." I was a bit annoyed, but seeing Jack so cheerful made me feel better. "It's okay, but next time, please let me know beforehand," I said. Jack promised to do that and told Brittany it was time for her to leave. Brittany didn't want to leave and said, "I'd like to stay the night. This house is so big and nice." Jack quickly said, "No, it's too sudden, Brittany, please go home today." Brittany left, looking angry, and I asked Jack, "Why did Brittany come over today? She lives so far away." Brittany had recently gotten a divorce and didn't have a place to stay, so she was living with our parents, but their apartment was small, and they were pressuring her to find a job and contribute money, so she wasn't feeling welcome. I felt bad for her. Jack explained, "I'm sorry, I didn't want to be alone. I let Brittany in because I needed someone to talk to." I was upset with Jack, but I understood he needed support. "Okay, but next time, call me first and make sure she leaves before I get home," I said. 2 days later, Jack texted me while I was at work, "Brittany wants to come over again. I'll make sure she leaves before 9 p.m., like you asked." I didn't want Brittany over again so soon, but Jack seemed happy, so I agreed, "Fine, but make sure she leaves on time." When I came home, Brittany was still there. "Why is she still here?" I asked. Jack immediately apologized. "I'm sorry, I got carried away talking to her. She'll leave now." Brittany packed up, looking annoyed, and left. I didn't like her attitude and said, "She's acting like this is her house, doesn't she have any manners?" Jack defended her, "She came all this way just to talk to me." I thought they could have met somewhere else, but I was too tired to argue. "Sorry, I'm just tired, I'm going to bed now." Jack seemed like he wanted to say more, but I was already heading to bed. The next day, I had the day off and was relaxing at home when Jack said, "I'm sorry about yesterday. After thinking it over, I realized I was wrong. I wanted you and Brittany to get along, but the timing was off." I realized I hadn't had much time to talk to Jack lately, and I understood how much he wanted us to get along. I said, "I see, I've been so busy, I haven't made time for us. I said too much yesterday, I'm sorry." Jack was happy we could talk it out. He smiled and said, "Okay, I'll make your favorite, meatball pasta, it's coming right up." He started cooking, but then his phone rang. "Who's calling?" I asked. Jack replied, "Oh, it's Brittany, I wonder what she wants." I had a bad feeling and didn't want him to pick it up, but I said, "Maybe it's something urgent." Jack picked up the phone, and although I couldn't hear what Brittany was saying, the call ended quickly. "So, what did Brittany want?" I asked. Jack said, "She wants to tell me something, so she's coming over." I didn't understand why I had to see her on my day off, and I felt annoyed, but since she was already on her way, I didn't say anything. Jack happily said, "I'll make pasta for Brittany too," and kept cooking. He didn't notice that I was upset, and I couldn't understand why he didn't tell her no, but I decided this might be my chance to talk to her myself. About 10 minutes later, the doorbell rang. Since Brittany lived far away, I didn't expect her to show up so soon, but when I opened the door, it was Brittany. She had big luggage with her, and I instantly felt uneasy, but I let her in. Jack was still cooking, so I asked Brittany, "What happened?" She looked like she had been crying and said, "I got kicked out of my parents' place. They said I can't stay with them because I'm not working. They're horrible, right?" My bad feeling was getting worse as I listened to her. Jack overheard and said, "That's awful. Family is supposed to help each other. They're terrible parents." I was really upset by what Jack said, but since it wasn't my place to say anything, I kept quiet and listened. Brittany said, "I have nowhere to go, so I need to stay here." I really didn't want Brittany to stay with us, and I was about to say something, but before I could, Jack said. Well, if that's the case, she'll have to stay here. We have a spare room, so she can stay with us from today. I gave Jack a glare, and he said, Why are you looking at me like that? Brittany needs help. I couldn't take it anymore and said, What are you talking about? Don't make decisions without talking to me. You're not working, and Brittany isn't either, right? I can't support both of you on my own. Suddenly, something hit me on the head, and I didn't know what happened. Then I heard Brittany laughing and saying, Jack, don't throw an egg at her. When I touched my hair, I realized there were eggshells in it. Jack said, It's your fault, Mary, you need to be nicer to Brittany. Then he added, If you keep acting like this, we'll get divorced, and if we do, you'll have to leave the house, you know? Jack looked at me with a proud smile, and Brittany looked at me with a smug expression. They thought I was going to give in, so they asked, Mary, are you going to apologize? Go take a shower, and then we can eat the meatball pasta Jack made and talk about how we're all going to live together. Jack happily went back to finishing lunch, and Brittany sat on the couch, relaxing and watching TV. I had a lot to say, but for now, I just grabbed Brittany's luggage and threw it off the balcony. They were shocked by what I did and asked, What are you doing? Are you crazy? Jack panicked and told me to go get the luggage, but I said, Why should I? This is my house. I won't let you do whatever you want anymore. Jack said, What are you talking about? This is our house, as husband and wife. This is my house too, and I'm letting my sister stay here. I just laughed and said, What's so funny? This house was given to me by my mom, so you have no right to it. Jack and Brittany were both surprised and said, Wait, really? But even if that's true, since we're still married, it doesn't matter. They started mumbling, so I said, This house is mine. If you want to live with your sister so badly, then rent a house and live with her. And why should I support two people who don't work? I told Jack, You used to work hard before you quit, so I didn't say anything, but lately, you're not doing any housework either. Honestly, I'd rather live alone. Jack seemed shocked by what I said and replied, Oh, so that's what you've been thinking? I said, I don't want a husband who doesn't take care of the family and can't even thank me for working and supporting us. Just then, Jack pulled out a divorce paper. I thought it was strange that he had it ready, and I realized that Brittany had probably planned this all along. I've already filled out my part, so all you have to do is fill in yours. I'll give you some time to think. When you're ready to apologize, just contact me. Okay, they replied, and left. I quickly took a shower, signed the divorce papers, and went to submit them. I figured my husband only showed me the divorce papers to scare me, even though it was Brittany's idea. Jack went through with it, and I didn't want a husband who would do that to me. A few days later, Jack called and asked, Are you ready to apologize? I was so angry and didn't want to waste time on this. Shouldn't you be the one calling me first? I replied. Jack sounded like he was looking down on me, so I said, What do you mean? Why am I calling you? Why should I contact you? A stranger to me now? He didn't seem to understand the situation, so I decided to be clear. I've already submitted the divorce papers, and it's finalized, so now we're strangers. Oh, and I sold the house. Even if you want to come back, it doesn't matter. I also quit my job and am starting fresh somewhere else. And by the way, I sent all your stuff to your parents' house. It should be arriving soon. I'm not sure, though, because their place is so small. Will everything fit? Jack seemed confused and angry on the phone. I could hear him arguing with someone. Anyway, you were the one who wanted a divorce, right? I have nothing more to say to you. I'm blocking you now. Goodbye. Jack yelled something, but I hung up and blocked his number. A few months later, I visited the place where I used to live. On my way home, I stopped by a supermarket and saw someone who looked like Jack, working there. He seemed to have made a mistake at work, and a younger woman was telling him, How many times do I have to explain this to you? Don't make me repeat myself. Other workers were laughing at him, and I felt a little sorry for him, but I reminded myself that he was a stranger to me now. Maybe if Jack had thought more about how to handle his sister, things wouldn't have turned out this way. But now, I'm happy I divorced him. I'm enjoying my life on my own.
He deserves nice things, unlike some people. My mother's words sliced through the air of our family's living room, sharp enough to draw blood. I'd heard variations of this phrase throughout my life, but today, something inside me finally snapped. I'm Martina, 31, and I've spent the last decade being my family's ATM. The funny thing? I never planned it this way, but here I was, standing in my parents' dated living room, staring at a Tesla brochure my brother Trey had strategically left on the coffee table. It's eco-friendly, my mother Serenity cooed, running her manicured fingers over the glossy pages. Trey's really thinking about his carbon footprint. Isn't that admirable? I fought the urge to laugh. Trey, who had never held a job longer than 3 months, was suddenly an environmental activist? The same brother who'd borrowed my credit card last month to buy designer sneakers? Mom, the down payment alone is $40,000, I said, keeping my voice level. That's not exactly pocket change. My father Walker shifted uncomfortably in his recliner, pretending to be absorbed in his crossword puzzle. Typical. He'd perfected the art of invisible presence years ago. Oh, please. Mom waved her hand dismissively. You make 6 figures. What else are you spending it on? That tiny apartment of yours? The familiar knot formed in my stomach. The one that appeared whenever they minimized my achievements while elevating Trey's latest whim. I'd bought that apartment on my own, worked overtime for years to afford it, but somehow it was always tiny or modest in their eyes. I have responsibilities, Mom. My mortgage, retirement savings. Family is a responsibility too, she cut me off, her voice taking on that guilt-inducing tremor I knew too well. Your brother has vision. He's planning to start a luxury brand, and he needs to project the right image. The right car makes all the difference in that world. Trey chose that moment to bounce into the room, all 26 years of entitled energy wrapped in designer clothes I'd probably inadvertently funded. Did you show her? The white one, right? I was thinking of getting the interior customized with sustainable leather. I closed my eyes briefly. Sustainable leather for a car you can't afford? Don't be bitter, sis, Trey smirked. Just because you choose to live like a minimalist doesn't mean everyone has to. Mom nodded approvingly at him before turning back to me. The transfer needs to be done by Friday. The dealership won't hold it much longer. I haven't even agreed. Martina! Mom's voice cracked like a whip. After everything we've done for you, all the sacrifices we made for your education, this is how you repay us? I watched Dad sink deeper into his crossword puzzle, and something shifted inside me. A lifetime of memories flashed through my mind. My academic achievements met with lukewarm praise. My promotions celebrated only as opportunities to help Trey. My savings repeatedly drained for his failed ventures. You're right, I said slowly, surprising everyone, including myself. I'll make the transfer. Mom's face lit up with triumphant satisfaction. Trey pumped his fist and started rambling about color options. Dad even glanced up from his puzzle, offering a brief nod of approval. They didn't notice my smile. They never noticed anything about me unless it involved my wallet. They didn't see how it didn't quite reach my eyes, or how my hands had stopped shaking. They didn't realize that sometimes, when something breaks, it breaks forward. I pulled out my phone, making a show of opening my banking app. I'll take care of it first thing tomorrow, I promised, my voice honey-sweet. That's my responsible girl, Mom beamed, already turning her attention back to Trey. Now, sweetheart, tell me more about this sustainable leather. I sat there, nodding along to Trey's excited chatter about his future luxury brand, about how this car would be the perfect starting point, about all his plans that had always somehow required my money to materialize. But for the first time in years, I felt light, free, because they had no idea that tomorrow I wouldn't be transferring money to the dealership. Tomorrow, I would be executing a plan that had been forming in my mind for months, maybe years. A plan that would teach them exactly what responsibility meant. I smiled again, and this time it reached my eyes. Sometimes the biggest revenge isn't in what you do, it's in what you stop doing. I should head home, I said, standing up. Big day tomorrow. They had no idea just how big it would be. You're doing what? Zoe nearly choked on her coffee. We were sitting in our usual corner of the local cafe, away from the morning rush. Girl, it's about damn time. I stirred my latte, watching the foam swirl. Remember when Trey dropped out of college? Mom called me at 2 a.m, crying about how they'd lose their house if they had to keep paying his tuition. And you stepped in, Zoe said, her eyes narrowing. Like you always do. $40,000. My entire savings at the time. I laughed bitterly. He switched to pursuing his passion for fashion instead. That t-shirt brand that lasted exactly 3 weeks. Supreme Vibes, Zoe rolled her eyes. The logo looked like it was made in MS Paint. The barista called out someone's name, and I flinched, still on edge from yesterday's confrontation. After that, Mom convinced me to set up that joint household account. Said it was the adult thing to do, to help with bills since I was working. Family takes care of family. Family doesn't drain you dry, Zoe countered. She pulled out her phone, scrolling through something. Look at this. That Europe trip Trey took last summer? He posted about staying at the Ritz in Paris. The Ritz, Martina. I didn't need to look. I knew exactly how much that trip had cost. It came from the joint account. I called Craig this morning, I said quietly. The family banker? What did he say? He was interesting. Asked if I knew about the mortgage payments being 3 months behind. Zoe's jaw dropped. They didn't tell you? Nope. But they want me to buy Trey a Tesla. I pulled out my own phone, opening my banking app. Craig helped me set up a new account. Everything's getting transferred there today. What about the joint account? I'm closing it. Already called the utility companies to reroute the bills back to my parents' names. My hands were shaking slightly as I typed in my password. They're adults. They can figure it out. They're going to lose their minds, Zoe warned, but she was smiling. What about your brother's car? What about it? I hit confirm on the transfer. He can buy it himself when he gets a job. Just then, my phone buzzed. A text from Jarvis, my coworker. Coffee run? Need to discuss the Henderson account. Speaking of jobs, I showed Zoe the text. Jarvis has been asking questions lately about why I never go on vacation, why I always work overtime. He likes you, Zoe waggled her eyebrows, and he's not wrong to ask. Normal people don't work 60-hour weeks to fund their brother's luxury lifestyle. We gathered our things and headed out. The morning air was crisp, carrying the promise of change. My phone buzzed again. Mom this time. I declined the call. What if they're right? I asked suddenly, stopping on the sidewalk. What if I am being selfish? Zoe grabbed my shoulders, forcing me to look at her. Listen to me. Last month, you skipped your dentist appointment because Trey needed new golf clubs. The month before that, you canceled your therapy sessions to cover their property taxes. That's not selfish. That's being exploited. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Craig. Just saw the mortgage notice. Want me to reach out to your parents? No, I typed back. Let them handle it. At work, Jarvis was waiting by my desk with 2 fresh coffees. You look different today, he said, handing me one. Different how? Lighter. He leaned against my desk. Like you finally put down something heavy you've been carrying. I thought about the joint account, now empty and scheduled for closure. About the utilities being switched back. About the Tesla that would never materialize in Trey's driveway. Maybe I did, I smiled, taking a sip of coffee. My phone lit up again. Dad this time. The text made my stomach clench. Why is the mortgage company calling me about $5,000 due? Jarvis noticed my expression change. Everything okay? I looked at him, then at the text, then back at my coffee. For the first time in years, I felt something close to peace. You know what? Everything's actually perfect. Because sometimes perfect isn't about having everything go right. Sometimes it's about finally letting everything go wrong in exactly the right way. I turned my phone face down and opened my laptop. The Henderson account could wait. I had some apartment listings to browse, preferably in a neighborhood far from my parents' house. "Want to grab lunch later?" Jarvis asked, heading back to his desk. "You seem like you might have an interesting story to tell." I smiled. He had no idea how interesting it was about to get. The internship fell through again. Trey's voice crackled through my phone speaker. "Bad timing, you know how it is. But hey, I found this amazing custom leather shop for the Tesla. They can do this sick diamond pattern." "Trey," I cut him off, watching the cursor blink on my work computer. "There isn't going to be a Tesla." "What? But Mom said you already agreed." His voice rose an octave. "You promised." "No," Mom assumed. "There's a difference." I clicked through another apartment listing. This one looked promising. 20 miles from my parents' house. "You're just jealous," he spat. "You've always been jealous that I have actual dreams while you waste away in your boring corporate job." I laughed, surprising both of us. "My boring corporate job that pays for your dreams? That one? Whatever. Mom's right. You're being selfish. I'll just ask her to—" "Go ahead," I interrupted. "Ask her for whatever you want. But the money's gone, Trey. All of it." The silence that followed was deafening. Then, "What do you mean, gone?" I closed the apartment listing and opened my email. Exactly what I said. The joint account is closed. Bills are back in Mom and Dad's names. You want a Tesla? Get a job. He hung up. I counted backward from 10, waiting for the inevitable call from Mom. Right on cue, my phone lit up with her name. "The transfer never went through," she said immediately, skipping any greeting. "The dealership called Trey." "What's going on?" "Nothing's going through, Mom. Not anymore. Don't be ridiculous. Just make the transfer now and—" "The account is closed." Another deadly silence. Then, "You what?" "You heard me." My voice was steady, even as my hands shook. "I closed it. All of it. You ungrateful little—" she sputtered. "After everything we've done for you? This is how you repay us?" Jarvis chose that moment to stop by my desk, coffee in hand. He raised an eyebrow at my expression, but I waved him away. "Everything you've done for me?" I repeated. "Like what, Mom? Making me feel guilty for every success? Treating me like an ATM? We gave you life," she shrieked. "We put you through college, which I've paid back 3 times over." I lowered my voice, aware of my coworkers. "I'm done, Mom. The Bank of Martina is closed." She switched tactics, her voice suddenly trembling. "The mortgage company. They're threatening foreclosure. We need you, sweetheart. Family helps family." "Yes," I agreed. "Family helps family. But this isn't help anymore, is it? It's exploitation." She hung up. I stared at my phone, waiting for the guilt to hit. It didn't come. "Tough call?" Jarvis placed the coffee on my desk, settling into the chair beside me. "Family stuff," I muttered. "Ah." He nodded sagely. "The kind where they give as much as they take, or the kind where they just take?" I looked at him sharply. "What makes you ask that?" "Experience," he shrugged. "My sister was like that. Always needed temporary help that somehow became permanent. Took me years to learn the word no." My phone buzzed with a text from Dad. "Why is the mortgage company calling me about $5,000 due?" "How did you do it?" I asked Jarvis. "Say no, I mean. I realized I wasn't actually helping her by enabling her. Sometimes love means letting people face the consequences of their own actions." I picked up my coffee, letting its warmth seep into my cold fingers. Even if those consequences hurt them? Especially then. He stood up, straightening his tie. "Want to grab dinner later? You look like you could use a friendly ear." Before I could answer, my phone lit up again. A string of texts from Trey. "You can't do this to me. The dealership is giving my slot to someone else. I told people about this car. You're ruining everything." I turned my phone face down. "Dinner sounds great," I told Jarvis. "I definitely have some stories to tell." He smiled and headed back to his desk. I opened my email to find a message from Craig. "Your parents are asking about temporary overdraft options. Should I direct them to our financial advisory service?" I typed back a single word. "Yes." My phone kept buzzing, but I ignored it. Instead, I pulled up the apartment listing again. The one 20 miles away. The one with the balcony and the view of the park. The one where my family couldn't just drop by. Sometimes the hardest part isn't saying no. It's maintaining that no when the guilt trips and manipulations start rolling in. But as I clicked Schedule Viewing on the apartment listing, I realized something. Their emotional terrorism only worked if I allowed it to, and I wasn't allowing it anymore. "Last box," Zoe announced, dropping a cardboard container labeled kitchen onto my new apartment's floor. "I still can't believe you're really doing this." The morning sun streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows, illuminating the empty space that would become my new home. 23 miles from my parents' house. I'd checked. 47 missed calls, I said, glancing at my phone. 28 from Mom, 15 from Dad, and 4 from numbers I don't recognize. "Probably calling from other phones since you blocked them," Zoe snorted, unpacking dishes. "How long has it been?" 6 days since I closed the account. 4 since I stopped answering their calls. I started arranging books on the built-in shelves. Mom's Facebook posts are getting creative. Oh, I saw those. Prayer request for my troubled daughter who's lost her way. Real subtle. The doorbell rang, making us both jump. Through the peephole, I saw Jarvis holding coffee cups and a paper bag. "Breakfast delivery," he announced when I opened the door. "Figured you could use fuel for unpacking." "You're a lifesaver," I said, accepting a coffee. "Though I'm starting to think you have ulterior motives with all these coffee runs." He grinned. "Is it working?" Before I could respond, my phone buzzed again. Craig's name flashed on the screen. "Martina." His voice was hesitant. "Your parents were just in my office. They're asking about loan options." I sat on an unopened box. "And?" "Their credit isn't great. The missed mortgage payments. Listen, I had to tell them about the overdraft fees from last year, the ones you covered. They didn't know about those?" "Apparently not." He paused. They seemed shocked. I ended the call just as Zoe emerged from the kitchen. "Hey, where do you want these?" "Oh, hi, Jarvis." The three of us settled on the floor, sharing croissants and coffee, when a loud banging made us all freeze. "Martina, open up! I know you're in there." Trey's voice echoed through the door, angry and slightly slurred, despite it being barely noon. "How did he find you?" Zoe whispered. "Probably followed me from work," I muttered, remembering the car I'd glimpsed in my rearview mirror. The banging continued. "You ruined everything. The dealership canceled my order. Do you know how embarrassing that was?" Jarvis stood up, moving toward the door, but I grabbed his arm. "Don't. He'll leave eventually." "You've always been jealous," Trey shouted. "Just because you're too boring to have dreams, too pathetic to do anything but work and save money like some robot." "Should I call security?" Zoe reached for her phone. I shook my head, walking to the door. "No, it's time I handled this." I opened the door to find Trey, disheveled and red-faced, his designer clothes wrinkled. "Well, look who finally—" "You're drunk," I cut him off. "At 11 in the morning. Real classy." "You destroyed my life." "Your life?" I stepped into the hallway, closing the door behind me. "You mean the life I've been funding? The one where you've never held a job longer than 3 months? That life? I had opportunities, important connections." "No, Trey. You had me. My money, my credit cards, my savings." I kept my voice level. And now you don't. He ran his hands through his hair, desperate. I need that car, Martina. People are expecting it. I promised. Not my problem anymore. Mom and Dad can't even pay their bills. They might lose the house. Also not my problem. He stared at me like he'd never seen me before. Maybe he hadn't. Not really. You've always said you'd protect me, he whispered, trying one last guilt trip. What changed? I realized I was protecting you from the wrong thing, I replied. I wasn't protecting you from failure or hardship. I was protecting you from growing up. You're my sister, he said, as if that explained everything. Yes, I am. Not your bank, not your safety net, not your enabler. Just your sister. I reached for the door handle. And as your sister, I'm telling you, get your life together. Or what? Or don't. But either way, you'll be doing it without my money. I went back inside, leaving him in the hallway. Zoe and Jarvis looked up from their coffees, concern etched on their faces. You okay? Jarvis asked. I listened to Trey's footsteps fade away, followed by the distant ding of the elevator. Through the windows, I could see the park I'd fallen in love with during the viewing. My park now. My view. My life. You know what? I picked up my coffee, still warm. I really am. Because sometimes the hardest conversations aren't the ones that make you cry. They're the ones that finally set you free. If you love your brother, you'll share. The memory of Mom's voice echoed in my head as I stared at the email from her. It was the first direct communication in weeks that wasn't a guilt trip Facebook post or a message through relatives. We're selling the house, the email read. Your father and I thought you should know, since you grew up here. Trey's devastated. I hope you're happy with what you've done to this family. I was at my desk at work, but my mind wandered to that house, to the marks on the kitchen doorframe tracking Trey's height, but not mine, to the wall of photos showcasing his achievements while my college graduation picture sat in a drawer. Earth to Martina. Jarvis waved a hand in front of my face. Lunch? Rain check? I need to handle something. He studied my face. Family stuff again? They're selling the house. And that's your problem because... Before I could answer, my phone lit up with Trey's number. Against my better judgment, I answered. How could you do this to them? He demanded. To me? I had to move back in with them. Did you know that? My landlord evicted me. Maybe you should have paid your rent instead of buying designer clothes. I had plans. Important meetings. Do you know how it looks? Taking the bus to networking events? I rubbed my temples. Get a job, Trey. I had 3 interviews this month. And? The positions weren't aligned with my vision. You mean they expected you to actually work? He made a frustrated sound. You've always said you'd protect me. What changed? That phrase again. The same one he'd used at my apartment. But this time, it triggered something different. You want to know what changed? My voice was steel. I did. I'm not that little girl anymore, the one Mom convinced to share everything because that's what good sisters do. I'm done sharing my life so you don't have to build yours. You're being dramatic. Am I? Remember my graduation money? The money Grandma left specifically for me? Mom made me share that too. For your first failed business venture. That wasn't my fault. The market, it's never your fault, is it? It's always the market, or bad timing, or unfair circumstances. Never the fact that you won't get off your ass and work. Silence. Then, Mom was right. You are bitter. I laughed. Actually laughed. No, Trey. I'm awake. The elevator dinged, and I looked up to see Mom walking through our office doors. My stomach dropped. I have to go, I told Trey, hanging up. Mom spotted me, making a beeline for my desk. Her designer handbag was last season's, I noticed. Her shoes weren't new either. We need to talk, she announced, loud enough for my coworkers to hear. I'm working. You can spare 5 minutes for your mother. She pulled up a chair, uninvited. The mortgage company. No. You haven't even heard what The answer is no. I kept my voice low but firm. No more money. No more bailouts. No more enabling. Enabling? Her eyes narrowed. Is that what your therapist told you? The one you waste money on instead of helping your family? Actually, I learned that word from watching you and Dad enable Trey for 26 years. We supported him, like parents should. No, I corrected. I supported him, with my money, my savings, my future. You just took credit for it. She leaned forward, dropping her voice. If you don't help us with this mortgage situation, we'll lose everything. Maybe you should have thought about that before missing payments while buying Trey designer clothes. He needs to maintain an image. He needs to grow up. I stood up, drawing stares. And so do you. Mom's face crumpled, tears appearing on cue. How can you be so cruel? After everything we've sacrificed. What exactly did you sacrifice, Mom? Because from where I'm standing, I'm the only one who's been sacrificing anything. She stood too, trembling. I don't even recognize you anymore. Good, I said, and meant it. Because I don't recognize myself either. I like this version better. She left in a flurry of fake tears and real anger, leaving behind the scent of her expensive perfume and the weight of decades of manipulation. Jarvis appeared at my desk moments later. So, lunch? I grabbed my purse, suddenly starving. You know what? Yes, and I'm having dessert. Because sometimes the sweetest revenge isn't in what you do to others. It's in what you finally allow yourself to do for yourself. As we headed to the elevator, my phone buzzed with a text from Dad. They're threatening foreclosure. I deleted it without responding. Their problems weren't my problems anymore. And for the first time in my adult life, that felt exactly right. Have you seen this? Zoe thrust her phone in my face during our weekly coffee meetup. On the screen was Mom's latest Facebook post. Heartbroken that my own daughter would abandon her family in our time of need. Some people become so obsessed with money they forget the meaning of love. Please pray for my Martina's soul. Greed has poisoned her heart. 43 sympathetic comments followed. Crying emojis. Promises of prayer. Condemnation of my cruelty. She's really playing the victim card hard, I muttered, pushing the phone away. Your Aunt Susan called me, Zoe said. Wanted to know if you'd joined a cult. I nearly choked on my latte. A cult? Apparently, your mom's telling people you've fallen in with bad influences who've turned you against family values. My phone buzzed. Another unknown number. I'd been getting calls all week from relatives I hadn't spoken to in years. Maybe I should make my own post, I said. Tell them about the 40 grand I gave Trey for his failed t-shirt business, or the credit cards I paid off, or... Don't, Jarvis interrupted, joining us with fresh coffees. That's what they want, to drag you into their drama. Speaking of drama, Zoe scrolled through her phone. Your brother's posting too. Something about toxic family members who pretend to care but only want control. I grabbed her phone. Sure enough, there was Trey's post, complete with a moody black and white selfie. Sometimes those closest to you are the ones who hold you back. They say they're protecting you, but they're really just controlling you. Toxic bang healing, da authenticity. The irony, I laughed, but it came out hollow. You okay? Jarvis asked, sliding closer. I don't know. I stared into my coffee. I mean, I know I did the right thing, but it still hurts, he finished. My phone lit up again. This time it was my cousin Phoebe. I always knew you were the scapegoat. Mom used to talk about how Aunt Serenity played favorites. Call me if you need to talk. The flying monkeys are circling, Zoe observed. Your mom's rallying the troops. Let her, I said, but my hands were shaking. She can't guilt me anymore. Just then, a text from Dad appeared. Your mother's had to start working at the mall. Is this what you wanted? Block him, Jarvis advised. seeing my expression. Block them all. I can't just. Yes, you can. He took my phone, scrolling through contacts. Look, revenge isn't always clean. Sometimes it gets messy. Sometimes it hurts people you didn't mean to hurt. But that doesn't make it wrong. When did you get so wise? I asked, trying to smile. When I watched my best friend finally stand up for herself. My phone buzzed again. An email from Craig. Thought you should know. Your parents are asking about reverse mortgages. Dangerous territory. Should I intervene? No, I typed back. Not my circus anymore. Zoe leaned forward. You know what we should do? Take that vacation you've been putting off for years. The one your mom always said was selfish when Trey needed something. I can't just. Yes, you can. She pulled up a travel site. Look, flights to Hawaii are on sale. 2 weeks of no family drama, no guilt trips, just beach and Mai Tais. I'll come too, Jarvis offered casually. You know, for moral support. I looked between them, my best friend and whatever Jarvis was becoming, and felt something warm in my chest. Something that felt like possibility. Another notification popped up. Mom had tagged me in a new post. When children forget their roots, they lose their way. But a mother's love never dies, even when it's betrayed. Book it, I told Zoe, suddenly decisive. Book the trip, she squealed, fingers flying over her phone. Jarvis grinned, squeezing my hand under the table. My phone lit up one last time. A message from Trey. Mom's crying herself to sleep every night. Hope you're happy with yourself. I stared at the message, feeling the old guilt rise up. But then I remembered all the nights I'd cried myself to sleep, worried about bills I shouldn't have had to pay, stressed about problems that were never mine to solve. I am happy, I typed back, for the first time in years. Then I blocked his number too, because sometimes happiness looks like a blocked contact list. Sometimes it looks like a vacation you finally allow yourself to take. And sometimes, most importantly, it looks like choosing yourself over the people who never chose you. 3 tickets to Hawaii, Zoe announced triumphantly. No refunds, no backing out. I raised my coffee cup. To burning bridges. And building new ones, Jarvis added, clinking his cup against mine. The for sale sign in front of my childhood home looked smaller than I expected. I sat in my car across the street, watching potential buyers file in and out. Mom's prized rose bushes were wilting. Dad's meticulously maintained lawn had brown patches. You shouldn't be here, Zoe's voice crackled through my phone speaker. I know. I watched another couple walk through the front door. But I needed to see it. We leave for Hawaii tomorrow. Don't let them drag you back in. A familiar car pulled into the driveway, Trey's old BMW. The one I'd helped him buy 3 years ago. He got out looking different. Cheaper clothes, no designer sunglasses. Reality had finally come knocking. I have to go, I told Zoe. I'll call you later. I was about to start my car when another vehicle pulled up. Mom's SUV. She stepped out wearing a mall store uniform, her name tag still pinned to her chest. My stomach clenched. Then I saw Aunt Susan's minivan parking behind them, and Uncle Robert's truck, and Cousin Phoebe's sedan. Oh no, I muttered, recognizing the setup. They were staging an intervention. My phone buzzed with a text from Mom. We know you're across the street. Please come inside. Family meeting. I should have driven away. Should have gone home to finish packing for Hawaii. Instead, I found myself walking toward the house I'd grown up in. She came, Mom announced as I entered. The living room was packed with relatives. Some looked sympathetic, others accusatory. Trey sat in the corner, unusually quiet. What is this? I asked, though I knew. We're here because we love you, Aunt Susan started. Your mother is worried. My mother is worried about money, I corrected. Not me. That's not true. Mom stepped forward, tears ready. We're worried about your soul. This vindictive behavior. Vindictive, I laughed. Is that what you call financial independence? You abandoned us. Trey suddenly exploded from his corner. Left us drowning in bills. Your bills, I shot back. Your loans. Your failed businesses. Your Tesla dreams. That's enough, Dad stood up. We're here to fix this family. Fix what? I demanded. Fix the fact that I finally said no? Fix the fact that your retirement plan can't rely on my salary anymore? The room fell silent. Uncle Robert shifted uncomfortably. I had to get a job at the mall, Mom whispered dramatically. At my age? Welcome to reality, I said, where most people work for a living. You're being cruel, Aunt Susan accused. No, I'm being honest. For the first time in my life. I turned to face them all. You want to know what's cruel? Making your daughter feel responsible for your mortgage at 22? Guilting her into funding her brother's delusions instead of her own dreams? That's cruel. We gave you everything, Mom shouted. No, I gave you everything. My savings, my 20s, my peace of mind. My voice cracked. And you know what the worst part is? You never even said thank you. Trey stood up suddenly. She's right. Everyone turned to stare at him. What? Mom gasped. She's right, he repeated, looking sick. We used her. All of us. I used her. He looked at me. I knew you'd always say yes. It was easier than growing up. Mom's face turned purple. Trey, don't let her manipulate. Stop it, Mom, he shouted. Just stop. Look at yourself. You're wearing a mall uniform and still trying to pretend everything's fine. It's not fine. We did this to ourselves. To her. The room erupted into chaos. Relatives taking sides. Mom crying. Dad trying to mediate. But I just watched Trey, seeing him clearly, maybe for the first time ever. I'm sorry, he said quietly, while the others argued. I really am. I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. Your brother's just confused, Mom insisted. Martina, if you'd just help us through this rough patch. No. I headed for the door. I'm done. The house will sell or it won't. You'll figure it out or you won't. But I'm not your safety net anymore. You told me I was selfish, I added, hand on the doorknob. Turns out, selfish is the only thing that saved me. I walked out, ignoring the calls behind me. In my car, I found a text from Jarvis. All packed for tomorrow. You okay? I looked back at the house one last time. Through the window, I could see Trey arguing with Mom, finally standing up to her manipulation. Sometimes karma works in unexpected ways. You know what? I typed back. I really am. Because sometimes the biggest victories don't come with fanfare. They come in quiet moments of walking away, of choosing yourself, of finally being free. The ocean breeze carried away the last bits of tension from my shoulders as I sat on my balcony, watching the Hawaiian sunset. Zoe dozed in the chair beside me, and Jarvis was inside ordering dinner. My phone lit up with a text from Craig. House sold today, above asking price. I took a deep breath, letting the information settle. The last tie, finally cut. Good news? Jarvis asked, stepping onto the balcony with 3 Mai Tais. The house sold. Zoe stirred. How does that make you feel? Before I could answer, another text came through. This one from Trey. I see it now. I'm sorry. I showed them the message. Are you going to respond? Zoe asked. No. I set the phone down. Some bridges need to stay burned. Speaking of burning, Jarvis grinned, your nose is getting red. More sunscreen? I touched my nose, laughing. A real laugh, free from the weight of family obligation. Worth it. First vacation in 8 years. First of many, he promised, squeezing my hand. My phone buzzed again. Mom's number, though I'd blocked it. She must be using a different phone. Your father had to take a second job, the text read. Is this what you wanted? I deleted it without responding. Their problems weren't mine anymore. They never should have been. Look what I found. Zoe sat up, scrolling through her phone. Remember that therapy retreat I told you about? The one in Colorado? They have an opening next month. I can't. I started automatically, then caught myself. Actually, yes. Book it. Who are you and what have you done with Martina? She teased. She grew up, Jarvis answered for me. Finally. The sun dipped lower, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Below our balcony, waves crashed against the shore in a steady rhythm. Craig sent me their new address, I said quietly. They downsized to an apartment across town. And? Zoe prompted. And nothing. I'm not saving that information. Jarvis raised his glass. To new beginnings. To boundaries, Zoe added. To freedom, I finished. My phone lit up one final time, a Facebook notification. Mom had posted again. Sometimes the hardest part of being a mother is watching your children make mistakes, but they'll always be welcome home when they realize family is everything. I clicked unfriend without hesitation. You know what the funny thing is? I said, watching a group of kids playing in the surf below. They always said I was the sensible one, the practical one, like it was an insult. And now? Jarvis asked. Now I realize being practical saved me. Being sensible meant I could build this life. I gestured to the ocean view, the luxury resort, the freedom to choose. While they were living in fantasy, I was building reality. Speaking of reality, Zoe sat up straighter. Jarvis, didn't you have something to ask Martina? He shot her a look, then turned to me. I was going to wait, but dinner tomorrow? Just us? I smiled. Just us sounds perfect. My phone stayed quiet now. No more guilt trips. No more emergencies. No more demands disguised as love. I should journal this, I said, pulling out the notebook I'd started when all this began. Not every daughter is born to serve a family. Some are born to end the cycle. Deep, Zoe nodded approvingly. Very Instagram-worthy. We laughed, and the sound carried across the water, free and light. Below us, a family walked along the beach, parents holding hands with their children, everyone equal, everyone valued. That's how it should be, I said softly. Family lifting each other up, not dragging each other down. You'll build that, Jarvis said confidently. Your own kind of family. I looked at him, then at Zoe, then at the ocean stretching endlessly before us. They were right. Family isn't just blood. Sometimes it's the friends who stand by you when you're breaking free. Sometimes it's the coworker who becomes something more. Sometimes it's just yourself, finally whole. The sun disappeared below the horizon, taking with it the last traces of guilt, of obligation, of the person I used to be. In its place, it left something better. Peace. Not the peace that comes from giving in, but the peace that comes from standing firm. Not the peace of surrender, but the peace of victory. I closed my journal and reached for Jarvis's hand. Tomorrow would bring its own adventures, its own choices, its own joy. But for now, this moment was enough. Watching the stars appear over the Pacific, surrounded by people who loved me for who I was, not what I could give them. This was freedom. This was healing. This was home.
The call came on a Tuesday, exactly 15 years after my father told me I wasn't worth the air I breathed. I was in the middle of a board meeting when my assistant slipped me a note. Your mother's calling, third time today. My name is Quinn, and I built a tech empire from the ground up while my family pretended I didn't exist. Funny how life works sometimes. We need to wrap this up, I told my executives, maintaining my composure despite the tremor in my hands. Send me the final projections by tomorrow morning. In my office, I stared at my mother's number on my phone screen. The same number I'd memorized as a child, back when I still believed family meant something. Quinn. Her voice was smaller than I remembered. Baby, is that you? It's me, I kept my tone neutral, professional. The Manhattan skyline stretched out behind my desk, a view I'd earned while they wrote me off. We've been trying to reach you. A pause. Your father, he wants to talk. I almost laughed. 15 years of silence, and now he wants to talk. Things are different now. We've seen you in the papers, on TV, your company, what you've built. She trailed off, probably remembering the day they kicked me out. I was 17 then. Dad had gathered everyone in the living room. Mom, my brothers Damon and Rodney. No daughter of mine is going to waste time with computers, he'd declared. You'll marry well, that's your purpose. I'd refused. Packed my bags that night. Quinn? Mom's voice pulled me back. There's a family dinner on Friday. Please come. Why should I? Because, she hesitated. Your father's business. We're struggling. The market crash hit us hard. He needs my money. I finished for her. That's what this is about. No, we want to make amends. We were wrong, Quinn. So wrong. I swiveled in my chair, watching my reflection in the window. The scared teenage girl was gone, replaced by a woman in a tailored suit who controlled $1 billion tech company. Text me the details, I said finally. I'll think about it. After hanging up, I called Kayla, my business partner, and the only person who knew the full story of my past. They reached out. She sounded concerned. What are you going to do? I'm going to that dinner. I pulled up my calendar. But first, I need you to clear my schedule for Friday and book a table at Le Bernardin. Quinn. Kayla's voice carried a warning. Don't do anything rash. Rash? No. I smiled, remembering how Dad used to parade my brothers around at business functions while I sat in the corner, invisible. I'm going to do something spectacular. That evening, I dug out an old photo album I kept locked in my desk. There I was, 12 years old, proudly showing Dad the computer program I'd written. He wasn't even looking at me. Next to it, a picture of Damon receiving a sports trophy, Dad beaming with pride. My phone buzzed. Mom's text with the dinner details. Your father says to dress appropriately, she added in a second message. I texted back. Change of plans. I'm hosting. Le Bernardin, 8 p.m. Tell Dad his precious sons can come too. Then I called Carlos, my PR specialist. I need you to arrange something. Discreet photographers, carefully placed. Make sure they catch every moment. What's the angle? He asked. I thought about Dad's face when he'd realize his daughter now had the power to make or break him. About Mom's silent compliance all those years. About my brother's smirks when I was thrown out. Family reconciliation, I said. The prodigal daughter returns. But that's just the beginning. And the real story. I touched the photo of my 12-year-old self, tracing the hope in those eyes before it was crushed. The real story is revenge, but we're going to package it as redemption. I closed the album. They wanted a proper daughter. I'll give them a proper show. After hanging up, I stood at my window, watching the city lights flicker to life. Somewhere out there, my family was probably huddled together, discussing how to handle me, how to get what they needed while maintaining their precious pride. Let them plan. Let them think they could manipulate me. I'd learned from the best after all. Friday couldn't come soon enough. I had 15 years of silence to fill, and I was going to make every word count. They wanted my help? They'd get it, along with a very public lesson in karma. I picked up my phone one last time and texted Kayla, book the private room, and make sure there's champagne. We're going to celebrate a family reunion they'll never forget. Le Bernardin's private room felt smaller with my family in it. Dad arrived first, of course. Punctuality was one of his obsessions. His silver hair was thinner than I remembered, but his stance remained rigid, commanding. Quinn. He extended his hand like we were closing a business deal. You look successful. I ignored his hand. 15 years will do that. Mom hurried in behind him, wringing her hands, a nervous habit I'd inherited and trained myself to break. She moved to hug me, then stopped, uncertain. Your hair, she said softly. It's so elegant now. Damon and Rodney arrived together, both in expensive suits that couldn't quite hide their desperation. Damon's Rolex was probably his last status symbol, while Rodney's shoes were scuffed at the heels. "Little sister," Damon said, forcing a smile, "finally decided to acknowledge your family." "Funny," I replied, taking my seat at the head of the table. I was about to say the same thing. The waiter appeared with champagne, and I watched them squirm as I ordered the most expensive bottle. Dad's eye twitched. He knew exactly how much it cost. "To family," I raised my glass. "And perfect timing." Damon cleared his throat. "Quinn, about timing. Your company's incredible," Rodney interrupted, earning a glare from Dad. "I mean, the innovation awards, the Forbes cover, the money," I added, making them all flinch. "That's what you really want to discuss, isn't it?" Dad set down his glass. "We've made mistakes." "Mistakes?" I laughed. "Is that what we're calling it now?" "Quinn," Mom pleaded. You're trying because you're desperate." I pulled out my tablet, sliding it across the table. "Your company's hemorrhaging money, Dad. 3 failed projects in 2 years. The board's considering a vote of no confidence." The color drained from his face. "How did you—" "I do my research. Unlike you, I learned from my mistakes." I tapped the tablet. "Damon's division is particularly interesting. Those investment choices. Amateur hour." Damon's knuckles went white around his fork. "You don't understand." "Actually, I do. Better than anyone." I leaned forward. "You need my help. My connections. My money. But mostly, you need my name." The waiter arrived with appetizers, and we all pretended to be fascinated by our plates. "What do you want?" Dad finally asked, his voice rough. "I'm hosting a gala next month, Women in Tech Initiative. Very prestigious, lots of media coverage." I watched their faces carefully. "You're all going to attend, as my loving, supportive family." Rodney frowned. "That's it?" "Oh, there's more." I smiled. "Dad, you'll give a speech about how proud you are of your daughter's achievements." "Damon, you'll announce a new division in your company, focused on supporting women in STEM fields." "That's ridiculous," Damon sputtered. "Our shareholders will love it. Trust me, I've done the math." I turned to Mom. "And you, Mother, will be the face of a new scholarship program for girls interested in technology." The silence was deafening. Dad's jaw clenched so tight, I thought he might crack a tooth. "And if we refuse?" he asked. "Then I'll watch from my office as your empire crumbles." I shrugged. "Either way, I win." Mom touched Dad's arm. "Colin, maybe." "Fine," he cut her off. "We'll play your game." "It's not a game." I stood up, dropping my napkin on the table. "It's karma, and we're just getting started." "You've become quite the manipulator," Damon said bitterly. "I learned from the best, big brother." I gathered my things. "Carlos, my PR specialist, will be in touch with details. Don't worry, he'll make sure you all look appropriately progressive and enlightened." "Quinn," Mom called as I reached the door. "Was any of this, did you really want to reconnect?" I turned back, seeing the hope in her eyes, the same hope I'd had all those years ago. "You know what's funny?" I said. "If you'd reached out before you needed something, this might have gone differently." I left them sitting there, surrounded by expensive food and bitter realizations. Outside, the night air felt clean, liberating. My phone buzzed. A text from Kayla. "How'd it go?" "Perfectly," I replied. "They took the bait. Call Carlos. It's time for phase 2. As my car pulled up, I caught my reflection in the window. I looked exactly like what I'd become. Powerful, untouchable, and absolutely merciless, just like they'd taught me to be. "This is delicious," Carlos said, taking another bite of his croissant. "Almost as delicious as your plan." We were in my penthouse office, surrounded by mood boards and event layouts for the gala. Kayla sat cross-legged on the floor, sorting through potential media contacts. "The press will eat this up," Carlos continued. "Tech mogul reconciles with traditional family, transforming them into champions of women's empowerment. It's perfect." "Too perfect," Kayla muttered. "Quinn, Are you sure about this? I walked to the window, watching a flock of pigeons scatter across the morning sky. Show me the speech drafts. Carlos pulled out his tablet. I've written 3 versions for your father. This one's my favorite. I was wrong. My greatest achievement wasn't building a company. It was raising a daughter who showed me the true meaning of success. He'll choke on those words, I said, smiling. That's the point. Carlos swiped through more documents. Damon's announcement about the women's STEM division is ready too. We've already leaked hints to industry blogs. My phone buzzed. Speaking of Damon. Excuse me, I said, stepping into the hallway. We need to talk, he growled. Alone. 20 minutes later, I found him pacing in the lobby of my building. He looked worse than at dinner, tie loose, hair disheveled. Making me come to you? He sneered. Power move. My building, my rules. I led him to a private conference room. What do you want? He ran a hand through his hair. This little revenge fantasy of yours. It needs to stop. Or what? You don't understand what's at stake. He slammed his fist on the table. Dad's company isn't just struggling. We're weeks away from collapse. The board meeting next month. I know all about the board meeting. I sat down, crossing my legs. Just like I know about your offshore accounts. His face went pale. How did you? The same way I know about Rodney's gambling debts. The same way I know Mom's been secretly taking anti-anxiety medication for 20 years. I leaned forward. I did my homework, Damon. All of it. So this is blackmail? This is opportunity. Play your part, and I'll make sure the board sees your new initiative as innovative leadership. The women's STEM division will attract fresh investors, positive press. And if I refuse, then I'll watch you drown. I stood up. Just like you watched them throw me out. He grabbed my arm as I turned to leave. You were always the smart one, he said quietly. Even back then. I should have. I pulled away. Should have what? Stood up for me? Protected your little sister. I was afraid, he admitted, of disappointing him, of losing my place. And now you're afraid of losing everything. I straightened my jacket. Funny how life works out. Back in my office, Kayla and Carlos were arguing over seating arrangements. The media needs clear sight lines, Carlos insisted. Every camera should capture their faces when Quinn announces the scholarship program. Speaking of which, Kayla interrupted as I entered. We need to talk about your mother. What about her? She called while you were gone, wanted to meet for coffee. Kayla hesitated. She seemed different. I remembered Mom's face at dinner, the way she'd almost hugged me. Different doesn't change anything, doesn't it? Kayla stood up. Quinn, I've known you for 10 years. You're not just doing this for revenge. Stay focused, I snapped. Carlos, what's next? He checked his notes. We need your family's measurements for the gala outfits, and we should schedule a photo shoot. Something casual, showing the reconciliation process. Fine, I picked up a layout board. What about the scholarship announcement? Already trending on social media, he grinned. The mysterious tech CEO, planning something big. Speculation is through the roof. My phone buzzed again, Dad this time. I ignored it. Quinn, Kayla said softly. What happens after, when the gala's over? I stared at the mood board. At the perfect family portrait we'd create. They learn their lesson. And you? What do you learn? Before I could answer, my assistant rushed in. Ms. Quinn, your brother Damon is talking to reporters in the lobby. What? I pulled up the security feed. There he was, surrounded by journalists, looking straight into the cameras. My heart stopped. He's going off script, Carlos said, already dialing his contacts. I watched Damon's lips move, unable to hear his words, but recognizing his expression, the same one he wore the night I left. Get him out of there, I ordered, now. As my team scrambled, I remained frozen, watching my carefully constructed plan teeter on the edge of chaos. Maybe Kayla was right. Maybe this wasn't just about revenge anymore. Maybe it was about something much more dangerous, hope. Your brother's interview is everywhere, Carlos announced. tossing a stack of newspapers onto my desk. But you need to see this. The headline screamed across every front page: Tech mogul's brother confesses we failed her, and family drama behind Silicon Valley success story. I scanned Damon's quotes. Our father was wrong. Quinn proved that. Now we're trying to make amends, to be the family she deserved. He went rogue, I said. But he stayed on message. Better than on message. Carlos grinned. He cried, Quinn. Actually cried on camera. The internet's eating it up. My phone lit up. Mom again. Third time today. This time, I answered. Have you seen it? She asked. Damon's performance. Yeah. It wasn't a performance. She paused. I'm at the coffee shop near your office. Please, Quinn. 20 minutes. I found her at a corner table, hands wrapped around an untouched latte. She looked smaller than I remembered, more fragile. You're not wearing makeup, I observed, sitting down. I stopped. She met my eyes. After you left, it felt pointless, pretending. Like you pretended not to see what was happening to me. Her hands trembled. I was weak. Every time he dismissed you, I died inside. But I stayed silent. For 15 years. No. She reached into her bag, pulled out a worn folder. I kept everything. Every news article about you. Every achievement. I followed your journey, Quinn. In silence, in shame. But I followed it. I opened the folder. There I was, from my first startup to my IPO. Pictures, clippings, printouts from tech blogs. Some were tear-stained. Why are you showing me this? Because you need to know, her voice cracked. The scholarship program you want me to represent. I want to do it. Not for show, for real. My coffee arrived. I stirred it slowly, buying time. Dad won't like that. Your father just got a call. She leaned forward. The board is moving up their vote. They want him out, Quinn. Unless I help. I closed the folder. And what do you want, Mom? Really want? A chance. She touched my hand. Not just to fix the past, but to do something meaningful. These girls you want to help? I see you in all of them. My phone buzzed. Kayla, reminding me about the gala preparations. I should leave. This wasn't part of the plan. Show me, I said instead. What? Show me you mean it. Come to my office, meet my team, see what we're really building. An hour later, Mom stood in our innovation lab, watching young women code, create, innovate. Her eyes were wide, taking everything in. This is incredible, she whispered. Ms. Quinn, my assistant, appeared. Your father's here. He's demanding to see you. I found him in the lobby, face red with anger. What did you do? He demanded. The board chairman just called. Something about a leaked memo. I have no idea what you're talking about. I smiled. But since you're here, let's talk about the gala. Carlos has your speech ready. Damn the gala. He stepped closer. You think you can destroy everything I built? No, Dad. You're doing that just fine on your own. Colin. Mom's voice cut through his rage. She stood in the doorway, steel in her spine. Enough. He blinked, surprised by her tone. Melina. I'm staying, she said. Quinn's showing me the scholarship program. You can either join us in the future or stay in your past. I watched his face cycle through confusion, anger, fear. You're choosing her? I'm choosing what's right. Mom turned to me. Where do we start? Before I could answer, Rodney burst in, out of breath. Dad, the investors, they're calling an emergency meeting. Something about new leadership. Dad's phone rang. His hands shook as he checked the screen. The chairman. Take it, I said. In fact, put it on speaker. Let's all hear what the future holds. As Dad's world crumbled around him, I watched Mom explore my office, touching the awards with pride. Rodney collapsed into a chair, looking lost. Somewhere in the building, Damon's interview was probably still playing on loop. My phone buzzed one last time. Carlos, everything's proceeding as planned. But Quinn, are you sure you want to go through with the final phase? I looked at my family, scattered and broken, and maybe, just maybe, ready to rebuild. Stand by, I texted back. The game's changing. The question was I ready to change with it? The gala buzzed with energy as New York's elite mingled under crystal chandeliers. I stood at the entrance, greeting guests, while photographers captured every calculated smile. "Your family's already inside," Carlos whispered, appearing at my elbow. "Your father's been practicing his speech. He actually looks nervous." "Good." I smoothed my midnight blue gown. "Where's Mom?" "Talking to the scholarship candidates. She's a natural, Quinn. Those girls adore her." I spotted Damon across the room, surprisingly at ease, as he discussed the Women's STEM initiative with a group of investors. Rodney hovered nearby, actually paying attention for once. "Ms. Quinn?" A young girl approached, maybe 17, clutching a tablet. "I'm one of the scholarship finalists. I just wanted to say, you're why I started coding." My practice smile faltered. She looked exactly like I had at that age. Hungry for recognition, desperate to prove herself. "What's your name?" "Sarah." She pulled up her project on the tablet. "I developed this app for domestic violence survivors. It looks like a normal calculator, but it sends encrypted distress signals." I finished, examining her code. "This is brilliant, Sarah. Your mother said the same thing." She beamed. "She's been showing everyone my work." Before I could respond, the lights dimmed. Carlos appeared again. "It's time." I took the stage, scanning the crowd. Hundreds of faces looked back, including my family's. Dad sat rigid in his chair, speech cards trembling slightly. Mom watched me with tears in her eyes, while my brothers tried to mask their anxiety. "Welcome," I began. 15 years ago, I was told that women don't belong in tech, that our place was in the background, supporting men's dreams instead of chasing our own. The room fell silent. Today we're changing that narrative, not just through words, but through action. I gestured to the screen behind me, where images of young female coders appeared. "Meet our future, 20 brilliant minds who will receive full scholarships to pursue their tech dreams." Applause erupted. I caught Sarah's radiant smile in the crowd. "But first," I continued, "someone else wants to share their journey of transformation." "Dad?" He stood slowly, straightening his tie. The cameras turned to him as he approached the podium. This was it, the moment of my triumph, my revenge. He cleared his throat, looked down at his cards, and then set them aside. "I had a speech prepared," he said, his voice rough, "about progress and change. But watching my daughter tonight, seeing these young women's potential." He turned to me. "Quinn, I was wrong. Not just about you, but about everything." The room held its breath. This wasn't the scripted speech Carlos had prepared. I lost 15 years with my daughter because of pride and ignorance. I watched from a distance as she built something extraordinary, while I clung to outdated beliefs that were destroying my own company. Mom reached for Damon's hand. Rodney wiped his eyes. "Tonight isn't about saving my business," Dad continued. "It's about saving our future. These scholarships, they're named after my wife, Melina, because while I was teaching our sons to lead, she was quietly showing our daughter how to revolutionize." The cameras flashed as Mom joined us on stage, followed by my brothers. Dad turned to me, his eyes glistening. "I don't deserve forgiveness," he said, "but I'm asking for a chance to support the vision you've built. Not as your superior, but as a father who finally sees his daughter's brilliance." The applause was deafening. Carlos gave me a thumbs up. This was better than anything we'd planned. But I barely noticed. "The Melina Scholarship Fund," I announced, my voice steady despite my racing heart, "will ensure that no other girl hears no when she should hear fly." Sarah and the other candidates joined us on stage. Mom hugged each one, whispering encouragement. Damon shook their hands, looking genuinely impressed. Even Rodney engaged, asking about their projects with real interest. As the evening wound down, I found myself alone with Dad on the balcony. "Did you mean it?" I asked. "Every word." He stared at the city lights. "The board voted this morning. I'm stepping down as CEO. "I know. They want you to take over." He turned to me. "Not because you're my daughter, but because you're better than I ever was." Inside, I could hear Mom laughing with the scholarship recipients. Damon was exchanging contact information with investors. Rodney was actually taking notes. "The company needs new leadership," Dad said. "It needs you." I looked at him, really looked at him, and saw something I'd never seen before: respect. "We'll talk," I said finally. "After all, I have some ideas about modernizing the family business." He smiled, and for the first time in 15 years, it reached his eyes. "Your father's speech is trending worldwide," Carlos announced, scrolling through his phone. "The video has over 10 million views. Pearson transformation is the top hashtag." We were in the aftermath meeting, reviewing the gala's impact. The wall of screens behind us displayed news coverage from every major network. "The stock's up 30%, Kayla added. "Investors are calling non-stop. Everyone wants a piece of the new progressive Pearson empire." I stared at the footage, playing silently on the screens. Dad's emotional speech, Mom hugging the scholarship recipients, my brothers actually looking human. "It wasn't supposed to go like this," I muttered. "No," Kayla agreed. "It was supposed to be revenge. Instead, it's become a revolution," Carlos finished. "Speaking of which, Time magazine wants to do a cover story. The family that changed Silicon Valley." My phone buzzed. "Damon." "Excuse me," I said, stepping out. I found him in the company's lobby, looking up at the massive digital wall displaying our stock price. "Remember when Dad used to say women couldn't understand finance?" He gestured at the climbing numbers. "Guess he was wrong about that too." Among other things, I crossed my arms. "What do you want, Damon?" "The board approved your leadership proposal." He handed me a folder. "Dad's stepping down next month. They want you as CEO, me as COO, and get this, they want Mom to head the foundation. And you're okay with that? Working under your little sister." He laughed. "I saw the code those scholarship girls wrote. They're better than I'll ever be. Just like you always were. Flattery won't erase the past." "No," he agreed, "but maybe this will help." He pulled out his phone, showed me an email. "I'm selling my house, my cars, everything. The money's going to fund 10 more scholarships." I blinked. "What?" "Rodney, too. He's actually meeting with Sarah right now. She's helping him develop an app for gambling addiction recovery." Before I could respond, Mom burst in, practically glowing. "Quinn, the foundation just received $1 million donation. Anonymous, but..." She hesitated. "It's from your father. He sold his golf club membership and his collector cars." I sat down hard on a nearby chair. This wasn't how revenge was supposed to feel. "There's more," Damon said. "Show her, Mom." She pulled up a video on her tablet. Dad was being interviewed on a major news network. "My daughter taught me that true legacy isn't about maintaining old power structures," he was saying. "It's about embracing change, acknowledging mistakes, and working to create a better future." "And your company's new direction," the interviewer asked, "is exactly what it should have been 15 years ago. Following Quinn's vision. She saw the future while I was stuck in the past. Now it's time for me to step aside and let her lead." I turned off the tablet. "This doesn't fix everything." "No," Mom agreed, "but it's a start." She touched my arm. "The girls from the scholarship program, they're asking if you'll mentor them." "I don't know if They need you," she interrupted. "Like I needed you. To show us all how to be stronger." My phone buzzed again. Carlos, with urgent news. The headlines flashed across my screen. "Tech giant announces historic all-female board," and "Silicon Valley's gender revolution begins." "Quinn," Kayla appeared, looking worried. "There's something you need to see." She led us to the conference room, where the news was playing on the big screen. A group of female tech CEOs was announcing a partnership with our foundation. They were pledging billions to support women in tech. "This is bigger than us now," Damon said quietly. Dad appeared in the doorway, looking uncertain. "The press is asking for a family statement. All of us together." I looked at my family, really looked at them. Mom, standing tall and proud. Damon, finally seeing me as an equal. Dad, humbled but trying. Even Rodney, rushing in with Sarah, excitedly showing off their app progress. Quinn, Carlos prompted. What should I tell the press? I thought about the scared 17-year-old girl I'd been, dreaming of this moment. But revenge had turned into something else, something bigger, more important. Tell them, I said, that the future doesn't belong to any one family or gender. It belongs to everyone brave enough to change. Dad smiled. Now that's a legacy worth building. Together, Mom asked. I looked at the scholarship girls watching us through the glass walls, their faces full of hope and determination. This wasn't just about healing my family anymore. It was about making sure no other girl had to fight the battles I did. Together, I agreed. But on one condition, we do it right this time. And how's that? Damon asked. I smiled. By breaking every glass ceiling we can find. You can't hide in your office forever, Kayla said, barging in with a stack of papers. The transition ceremony is in 2 hours. I was staring at an anonymous email that had arrived that morning. Your family's transformation is a lie. I have proof. Meet me or it goes public. Quinn? Kayla waved her hand in front of my face. Earth to CEO? Someone knows, I said, turning my laptop around. About the original plan. The revenge plot. Kayla read the email, her face darkening. Could be a bluff. Or it could destroy everything we've built. I stood up, pacing. The scholarships, the foundation, all of it. Quinn, Sarah burst in, her eyes bright. Sorry to interrupt, but you have to see this. She pulled up a video on her tablet. A teenage girl was speaking at a tech conference, wearing a t-shirt with my face on it. Quinn showed us that we don't need anyone's permission to change the world. The girl was saying, my dad used to tell me tech wasn't for girls. Now he's helping me build my startup. That's the 5th speech like this week. Sarah beamed. You're starting a movement. My phone buzzed. The anonymous emailer again. 1 hour, coffee shop across the street. I have to go, I told Kayla. Cover for me at the pre-ceremony meeting. The coffee shop was crowded, but I spotted him immediately. Rodney sitting alone in the corner, holding an old USB drive. You? I sat down, stunned. You sent the email? Found this while cleaning out my old room. He slid the drive across the table. It's your revenge plan. All the details, the manipulation, everything. You left it on your computer the night you ran away. My hands shook as I picked up the drive. Why didn't you tell Dad? Because I was ashamed. He looked down. I saw what you were planning, but I did nothing. Just like I did nothing when they kicked you out. And now? Now I see what you've actually built. He gestured outside, where a group of young girls walked past wearing future tech leaders' shirts. This is bigger than revenge. It's real change. So why the threatening email? Because you need to let go of the past. He leaned forward. The ceremony today. Dad's not just stepping down. He's announcing a complete restructuring. The board wants to name the new headquarters after you. What? But first, he pulled out another USB drive. You need to decide. This one has proof of what the company was really like before. The discrimination, the sexism, everything. Release it, and you get your final revenge. Keep it hidden, and we keep building the future. My phone buzzed repeatedly. Messages from everyone. Mom asking about the ceremony speech. Dad sending last-minute suggestions for the transition. Damon confirming the new board appointments. Sarah sharing more videos of inspired girls. Time to choose, sis, Rodney said softly. Revenge or revolution? I stared at the 2 drives. Everything I'd planned. Everything I'd become. Quinn! Sarah appeared at our table, breathless. Sorry, but there's an emergency. The scholarship girls. They're all here. They want to show you something before the ceremony. In the lobby of my building, 30 young women stood waiting, each holding a laptop. As I approached, they opened them in unison, revealing a synchronized display across all screens. We wrote this together, Sarah explained. an AI program that identifies and counters gender bias in corporate communications. We call it the Quinn Protocol. It's already being adopted by major tech companies. Another girl added, "Your father's company will be the first to implement it fully." I felt tears forming. "You did this. You showed us how," Sarah said simply. "Now we're showing others." My phone buzzed one final time. "Carlos, media's here for the ceremony. Everyone's waiting." I looked at Rodney, then at the drives in my hand. With a deep breath, I dropped them into the lobby's decorative fountain. "Let's go change the world," I told the girls. For real this time. In the auditorium, I found my family waiting backstage. Mom was coaching the scholarship recipients. Dad was practicing his introduction. Damon was reviewing the new corporate structure with board members. "Ready?" Kayla asked, appearing beside me. I watched Sarah lead her team to their seats, their faces glowing with possibility. Watched Mom stand tall as reporters approached her about the foundation. Watched Dad prepare to publicly hand over his life's work to his daughter. "Quinn?" Rodney touched my arm. "The revenge plot. Are you sure about letting it go?" I smiled, thinking of all the girls who would never have to plan revenge because they'd be too busy planning their futures. "Some things," I said, "are more powerful than revenge." The lights dimmed. It was time to step into the spotlight, not as the daughter seeking vengeance, but as the leader showing the way forward. "And that's how you change the world," I concluded my TED Talk, gesturing to the screen behind me where Sarah was demonstrating her latest AI breakthrough. The audience erupted in applause. Backstage, Mom waited with tears in her eyes. "I still can't believe how far we've come." Speaking of which, Kayla interrupted, rushing over with her tablet. "The Quinn Protocol just got adopted by every major tech company in Silicon Valley. It's officially industry standard now." "And perfect timing," Carlos added, appearing with his usual impeccable timing. "Because wait until you see tomorrow's Wall Street Journal." He handed me an advance copy. The headline read, "Tech's Gender Revolution: How One Family's Transformation Sparked Global Change." "Don't forget this," Dad said, joining us. He looked older but lighter somehow, like he'd finally set down a heavy burden. He handed me an envelope. Inside was a letter from a father in Seattle. "My daughter showed me your story. Yesterday, I apologized to her for the first time for dismissing her dreams. Today, we're building her first robot together. We get hundreds like that now," Damon said, scrolling through his phone. "The foundation can barely keep up with the applications." "Quinn," Sarah burst in, her face flushed with excitement. "The United Nations just confirmed. They want us to launch the Global Mentorship Program next month." I smiled, remembering the scared teenage girl I'd been, plotting revenge in her bedroom. If only she could see us now. "Ms. Quinn?" A small voice interrupted my thoughts. A young girl, maybe 12, stood clutching a laptop. "I'm sorry to bother you, but could you look at my code?" "Of course." I sat down, patting the chair next to me. "Show me what you've got." As she opened her laptop, I noticed my father watching us, his eyes soft. He walked over, pulled up a chair. "Mind if I learn too?" he asked the girl. She beamed. "I'm building a program that helps kids stand up to bullies. See, it works like this." Rodney joined us, then Damon, then Mom. Soon we were all huddled around the laptop, watching this young girl explain her vision for a better world. "Quinn," Carlos called softly, "the press is asking about the family photo." I looked at my family, really looked at them. Mom, now a fierce advocate for women's rights. Dad, mentoring young girls in coding. Damon, revolutionizing corporate culture. Rodney, using tech to help addiction recovery. All of us, transformed. "Actually," I said, "let's make it bigger than family." We gathered on stage, my family, Sarah and her team, the scholarship recipients, mentors, and that brave little girl with her anti-bullying code. Hundreds of faces, all part of this revolution. "Wait," the photographer said, "we need a caption." I thought about the USB drives at the bottom of that fountain. about revenge transformed into revolution, about fear turned into force for change. How about the future is all of us? Sarah suggested. Perfect, I said, as cameras flashed. Later, in my office, I found one last letter on my desk. It was from my younger self. I'd written it the night I left home, full of anger and plans for revenge. Dear future me, it began. I hope you make them pay for everything they did. I picked up a pen, turned the letter over, and wrote, Dear past me, we did something better than make them pay. We made them change. And in doing so, we changed too. Your anger built a revolution. Your pain created possibility. Your revenge became redemption. You won't believe this now, but someday Dad will teach coding to young girls. Mom will fight for women's rights. Your brothers will champion change. And you'll help thousands of girls write their own stories. That's the thing about revenge. Sometimes it transforms into something more powerful. Hope. Keep coding. Keep fighting. Keep believing. Love, Quinn. A knock at my door. Sarah again. Ready? The new scholarship candidates are here. I stood up, tucked the letter into my desk. Through my office window, I could see the city skyline, dotted with buildings where women now led companies, where girls learned to code, where the future was being rewritten. Quinn? Mom called from the doorway. Your father wants to show the girls his new mentorship program. I smiled. Tell them I'm coming. We've got work to do. Because that's the thing about changing the world. It's not about revenge or redemption. It's about revolution. And revolutions, they never end. They just grow bigger, stronger, more unstoppable, just like us.
The invitation sat in my inbox like a ticking bomb. Annual Brooks Family Beach House Reunion. Save the date. My sister Trinity's cheerful mass email might as well have been addressed to everyone but me. I knew how this would play out, the same way it had for the past 5 years. My name is Quinn, and I'm the family disappointment. At least, that's what my mother Iris never fails to remind me, whether through pointed silence or barely concealed sighs of disapproval. You're not going to let it get to you again this year, are you? Remington asked, peering over my cubicle wall. His concerned expression made me quickly close the email. Of course not, I lied, forcing a smile. Just another day at the office. But it wasn't just another day. The family beach house held every meaningful memory from my childhood. Before things changed, before I became the outsider. I remembered the summer I turned 12, when everything shifted. Quinn, darling, why don't you help in the kitchen? Mom had said, while Trinity got to join Dad's business meetings on the deck. Nelson, sweetheart, go show the neighbors your new project. While I sat alone, reading books they deemed a waste of time, my phone buzzed, a text from my childhood friend Savannah. Let me guess, another reunion email? I typed back, bingo. Want to bet how long before Mum calls to explain why there's limited space this year? The answer came within the hour. My mother's name flashed across my phone screen, right on schedule. Quinn, dear, she started, her voice dripping with artificial sweetness. About the reunion. Let me save you the trouble, Mom, I cut in, surprising myself with my steadiness. The house is too full, right? Trinity's kids need their space? Or is it Nelson's new girlfriend who needs the extra room this year? The silence on the other end was deafening. Well, you know how it is, she finally managed. Trinity's children are at such an important age. I glanced at the promotion letter sitting on my desk, the one I hadn't told them about. Senior Vice President at 35, the youngest in the company's history. Yeah, Mom, I know exactly how it is. After hanging up, I walked to Lance's office, my mentor and boss for the past decade. He looked up from his computer, reading my expression instantly. Family? He asked, gesturing to the chair across from him. I nodded, sinking into the seat. Sometimes I wonder why I still let it affect me. Because you're human, he said simply. But you know what the best revenge is? Success? I offered with a weak smile. No, he leaned forward, eyes twinkling. The best revenge is becoming so successful they can't ignore you anymore. Speaking of which, have you considered my proposal about the Richardson merger? I pulled out my tablet, pushing thoughts of family aside. Actually, I've been working on some numbers. What if we approached it from a different angle? For the next hour, we dove into work, my real comfort zone. As I walked Lance through my strategy, I felt the familiar surge of confidence return. This was where I belonged, where I excelled. Later that evening, as I drove home, Savannah called. "You know what you need?" she said, without preamble. "A plan." "A plan for what?" "To show them exactly what they've been missing. You're not that scared little girl anymore, Quinn. You're a force to be reckoned with." I stopped at a red light, watching the city lights blur through my windshield. "What's the point? They've made it clear where I stand." "The point is, you deserve better. And maybe it's time they realize that too." After hanging up, I sat in my parked car, staring at my luxury apartment building. 10 years ago, I'd started as an intern, determined to prove everyone wrong. Now I had everything they said I'd never achieve: success, respect, independence. Everything except family acceptance. My phone pinged with another email, Trinity sharing photos of last year's reunion, smiling faces, inside jokes, shared memories I wasn't part of. But instead of the usual hurt, I felt something different stirring inside me: determination. Opening my laptop, I pulled up the real estate website I'd been monitoring. The beach house's market value had dropped significantly in the recent economic downturn. The same beach house our parents could no longer afford to maintain. "Time for a different kind of investment," I whispered to myself, clicking the contact agent button. Maybe Savannah was right. Maybe it was time for a plan. Not for revenge, I told myself, but for justice. The kind that comes with compound interest. "The Richardson merger isn't just about combining assets," I explained, standing before the board of directors. "It's about redefining market presence." My laser pointer highlighted key projections on the screen behind me. Remington, sitting at the far end of the conference table, gave me a subtle thumbs up. After countless late nights preparing this presentation, we both knew how crucial this moment was. "And you're certain about these numbers?" Mr. Richardson himself leaned forward, his weathered face scrutinizing the data. "I stake my reputation on them," I replied without hesitation. "More importantly, I stake the future of both our companies on them." Lance cleared his throat from his seat beside Mr. Richardson. "Quinn has never steered us wrong before. Her track record speaks for itself." The meeting concluded 2 hours later with handshakes and signed preliminary agreements. As the board members filed out, Lance pulled me aside. "Outstanding work," he beamed. "Though I have to ask, why didn't you mention the promotion opportunity in Hong Kong? This merger's success practically guarantees you the position." My stomach tightened. The international division head role, a career-defining opportunity that happened to coincide with the upcoming family reunion dates. "Still considering my options," I said carefully. Back at my desk, Remington perched on the edge, coffee in hand. "Spill it. What's really holding you back? This is everything you've worked for." Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. Trinity's name flashed on the screen. I let it go to voicemail. "That's what's holding her back," Savannah announced, appearing with lunch bags. "Family drama as usual." "I thought we were meeting at the cafe," I said, grateful for the interruption. "Changed my mind. Besides, I wanted to see the aftermath of your big presentation." She distributed sandwiches, then fixed me with a knowing look. "So, Hong Kong?" "News travels fast," I muttered. "In this case, good news should travel fast," Remington insisted. "You can't seriously be considering passing this up because of them?" My phone buzzed again. A text from Trinity. "Mom's asking if you got the reunion email. Please respond." Savannah grabbed my phone. "Oh, hell no. You know what this is? This is them realizing they can't ignore you anymore. The family gossip vine must have caught wind of your success. Give me my phone back. I reached for it, but she held it away. Not until you promise to stop letting them dictate your life choices. I'm not... I started to protest, but Remington cut me off. Quinn, remember last month's charity gala? When you commanded that room full of CEOs? That's who you really are, not the invisible middle child they made you feel like. My phone buzzed a third time. Nelson this time. Hey sis, long time. Got a minute to chat? Suddenly, everyone wants to talk, I said dryly. Because you're becoming impossible to ignore? Savannah grinned. Now, about Hong Kong. The timing, I began. Is perfect, Remington finished. Show them exactly what they're missing while they're playing happy family at their precious beach house. Lance appeared in my office doorway. Quinn, Mr. Richardson wants to discuss implementation strategies over dinner tonight. I stood, straightening my jacket. Text me the details. After Lance left, Savannah raised an eyebrow. Look at you, power moves only. It's just dinner, I said, but couldn't help smiling. Just dinner with one of the most influential men in the industry, Remington corrected, while your family probably thinks you're still pushing papers in some entry-level position. My phone lit up with another message, Mom this time. Quinn, dear, please call when you can. Important family matters to discuss. Savannah read it over my shoulder and snorted. Important family matters? Like how they're running out of excuses to exclude you? I picked up my presentation materials, mind already shifting to the dinner ahead. They can keep their excuses. I've got an empire to build. That's my girl, Remington grinned. Speaking of building things, have you made an offer on the beach house yet? Tomorrow, I said, checking my makeup in my compact mirror. The agent says we're the only serious buyers in this market. Perfect timing, Savannah sang, right before they announced this year's reunion details. As I gathered my things for the Richardson dinner, I felt lighter than I had in weeks. My family might have mastered the art of making me feel small, but in this world, my world, I was anything but. Hey, Remington called as I headed out. Don't forget who you are in there. Show them what Quinn Unleashed looks like. I smiled, thinking of the beach house listing waiting in my inbox. Oh, I plan to show everyone exactly who I am. Congratulations, Ms. Brooks. The beach house is yours. The real estate agent slid the keys across her desk, their metal surface gleaming under the fluorescent lights. My hand trembled slightly as I picked them up. These small pieces of metal represented more than just property ownership. They were the keys to my past and, more importantly, my future. I can't believe you actually did it, Savannah whispered beside me, squeezing my arm. The agent smiled professionally. The paperwork will be processed by end of business day. Given the current market conditions, you've made an incredibly shrewd investment. Walking out of the office, I held the keys so tight they left impressions in my palm. My phone buzzed. Lance calling. Tell me you closed the deal, he said without preamble. Just sign the papers. Perfect timing. The Hong Kong position is yours if you want it. Board approved this morning. I stopped walking, causing Savannah to bump into me. Already? I thought the decision wasn't until next month. Your performance at the Richardson dinner sealed it. Speaking of which, he specifically requested you lead the merger transition team. Savannah was practically bouncing with excitement, having heard both sides of the conversation. As I hung up, she grabbed my shoulders. Okay, this is literally perfect. You own their precious beach house and you're about to become an international executive. Please tell me you're going to milk this for all it's worth. My phone chimed with a text from Trinity. Family meeting this weekend about the reunion. Mom insists you come. Please? Oh, this is too good, Savannah cackled. They have no idea you own their reunion venue. Neither does the agent, I reminded her. I made sure the purchase went through my corporation name. Sneaky. I love it. She linked her arm through mine as we walked to the car. So, what's the plan? Before I could answer, Remington called. Lance just told me the news. Both pieces of news. You're going to accept Hong Kong, right? I haven't decided, I said, putting him on speaker as we drove. What's to decide? It's perfect. You can run the merger from Asia, build your international profile, and let your family stew in their regrets. Speaking of stewing, Savannah chimed in, Quinn just got summoned to a family meeting about the reunion. No way, Remington laughed. Are you going? I turned onto the coastal road, heading toward the beach house, my beach house. Actually, yes, I think it's time for a visit. The familiar drive felt different now. Every curve in the road, every glimpse of ocean between the trees belonged to me in a way it never had before. I parked in front of the sprawling Victorian home, its weathered blue paint and white trim exactly as I remembered. Savannah whistled low. I forgot how gorgeous this place is. No wonder they're desperate to keep the reunions going. Walking up the steps, I unlocked the door with my new keys. The house smelled of sea salt and memories, summer nights, family dinners, whispered conversations. But now, underneath it all, was the sweet scent of victory. My phone rang. Mom. Quinn, are you coming this weekend? Trinity said she texted you. Actually, Mom, I'm at the beach house right now. Silence. Then, what? How? The realtor said it was sold. Did she? Interesting. I walked through the living room, trailing my fingers along the familiar walls. Don't worry about it. I'll see you this weekend. I hung up before she could respond. Savannah was recording everything on her phone, barely containing her glee. That was beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Did you hear her voice crack? Send me that video, Remington said through the speaker. I need it for posterity. I opened the French doors to the deck, breathing in the ocean air. You know what's funny? They always said I didn't understand the value of family tradition, but I'm the one who saved it. By buying it out from under them, Savannah added with a smirk. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about destroying something, I said, watching the waves crash below. It's about preserving it on your own terms. My phone buzzed again. Trinity, Nelson, and Mom in rapid succession. I ignored them all. So, Remington's voice crackled through the speaker, what's the next move, boss? I smiled, picturing the upcoming family meeting. Now we prepare for a reunion they'll never forget. Want company this weekend? Savannah offered. I make an excellent witness. No, I said, pulling out my laptop. This is something I need to do alone. But first, I have a Hong Kong acceptance letter to write. Standing on my deck, watching my ocean, I felt the last pieces of my plan falling into place. The scared little girl who used to hide in this house's corners was gone. In her place stood someone they'd never expected, someone they'd have to acknowledge at last. The sound of car doors slamming jolted me from my laptop. I'd been working on merger documents all morning, enjoying the ocean view from my new home office, when the familiar voices drifted up from the driveway. Mom, I'm telling you, Quinn was acting weird on the phone, Trinity's voice carried through the open windows. She's always weird, Nelson replied. Remember last Christmas? I closed my laptop slowly, heart pounding. They were early. The family meeting wasn't supposed to be until tomorrow. Through the window, I watched them unloading their cars like they owned the place, which, of course, they no longer did. My phone buzzed. Remington. Game time? They're here early, I texted back. Wish me luck. Show no mercy, came his instant reply. I heard the rattle of keys at the front door, followed by confused voices. Mom, your key isn't working, Trinity called out. That's impossible. I just had it checked last month. I walked downstairs, each step measured and deliberate in my Louboutins. The sound of my heels on the hardwood made the voices outside fall silent. Opening the door, I smiled at their shocked faces. Looking for something? Quinn? Mom's hand flew to her chest. What are you doing here? How did you get in? I live here, I said simply, stepping aside. Please come in. My house is your house. Literally. The silence that followed was delicious. Trinity's mouth opened and closed like a fish. Nelson dropped his duffel bag. "What do you mean you live here?" Mom finally managed. I walked to the kitchen knowing they'd follow. "Coffee? I just made a fresh pot. Colombian roast. I know how much you love it, Mom." "Quinn." Trinity's voice had that elder sister edge I knew so well. "What's going on?" I poured myself a cup, enjoying their confusion. "I thought the family meeting was tomorrow. Did I miss a memo?" "Oh, wait." I smiled over my cup. "I guess I'm not usually included in those." "Stop playing games," Nelson snapped. "How are you even in here? This is our family house." "Actually," I pulled out my phone, bringing up the property documents. "It's my house now. Has been for 2 weeks. Would you like to see the deed?" Mom sank into a kitchen chair. That's impossible. We would have known." "Would you? When was the last time any of you asked what I was doing with my life?" I leaned against the counter, savoring their expressions. "Coffee? No, your loss. It's imported." Trinity grabbed my phone, scrolling through the documents. "This can't be real. How could you possibly afford?" "The same way I afford my penthouse apartment, my vacation home in Aspen, and my car collection," I said casually. "I work." "Remember work? That thing you all said I'd never figure out?" "Yo, what?" Nelson choked. A car door slammed outside again. Dad's voice boomed through the open door. "Why is everyone standing around? Help me with these groceries." "In here, Dad," I called out. "Let me help you with those." He appeared in the doorway, bags in hand, and froze. "Quinn? What's going on?" Family meeting came early. I took the bags from him, unpacking them efficiently. "Though I should point out, next time you might want to check with me before buying groceries for my house." "Your house?" He looked at Mom, who was still sitting in shocked silence. "Perhaps we should all sit down," I suggested, gesturing to the dining room. "I believe we have some catching up to do." They followed me like dazed sheep, settling around the table where we'd had countless family meals I was often excluded from, relegated to the kitchen to help with dishes. "So," I settled at the head of the table, Dad's old spot, "about this year's reunion." "You can't just buy our family home," Trinity burst out. "This is our tradition." "Funny thing about traditions," I said, examining my manicure. "They're only as strong as the people maintaining them. When the bank called about foreclosure proceedings, where was your tradition then?" Mom's head snapped up. "How did you know about that?" "I know everything, Mom. I know about the missed payments, the second mortgage, the tax liens. I know because, unlike some people, I do my research before making investment decisions." My phone buzzed again. "Savannah. Need backup?" "All good. Operation Karma in progress," I texted back. Looking up at my family's stunned faces, I smiled. "Now, about those reunion plans, I was thinking we might need to make some changes this year. After all," I gestured to the ocean view through the windows. "New house, new rules." The look of dawning comprehension on their faces was better than any merger deal I'd ever closed. And we were just getting started. "You could have told us," Trinity said, breaking the tense silence that had fallen over the dining room, "about your success, your career, everything." "Could I?" I raised an eyebrow. "When? Between being uninvited to family gatherings or during those holiday calls that never came?" Dad cleared his throat. "Now, Quinn, that's not entirely fair." "Fair," I laughed, the sound sharp enough to make Mom flinch. "Let's talk about fair. Remember my college graduation? When you all skipped it because Nelson had a soccer game?" "That was different," Mom protested weakly. "Nelson was up for a scholarship, which he didn't get," I finished. "Meanwhile, I was accepting my MBA with honors. Not that any of you knew, since you never asked." My phone buzzed. "Lance. Hong Kong announcement goes public tomorrow. Want me to delay?" "Perfect timing. Proceed as planned," I texted back. Nelson leaned forward. So what now? You're going to hold this over our heads? Make us beg to use our own family house? Your family house? I stood, walking to the renovated kitchen. Come see what your family house looked like when I bought it. The rotting deck boards, the leaking roof, the outdated wiring that was one storm away from burning this place down. I opened a folder on the counter, spreading out before and after photos. 60,000 in repairs just to make it livable. Another 100,000 in renovations. Where was your family pride then? Trinity picked up a photo, her face paling. We didn't know it was this bad. Because none of you bothered to check. You just assumed everything would magically take care of itself, like you assumed I'd never amount to anything. Dad stood up suddenly. That's enough. We may have made mistakes, but you're still our daughter. Am I? I turned to face him. Because from where I'm standing, I've been your afterthought for 20 years. My phone lit up with a news alert. The Hong Kong announcement had leaked early. Mom's phone buzzed seconds later, her eyes widening as she read. Vice President of International Operations? She whispered. Quinn, you're moving to Hong Kong? Among other things, I smiled, pouring myself more coffee. The merger I just closed is worth more than this house and everything in it. Trinity grabbed Mom's phone, reading aloud. Youngest executive in company history, revolutionary merger strategy, projected to triple market share. Impossible, Nelson muttered. You're just Quinn. Just Quinn, I repeated softly. Funny how that works, isn't it? The daughter you never believed in now owns your precious beach house and runs a global division. Dad sank back into his chair. Why didn't you tell us? I did. Every time I tried to talk about work, you changed the subject to Trinity's kids or Nelson's latest venture. Every achievement, every promotion met with polite disinterest. My phone buzzed again. Remington. Stocks up 12% on the Hong Kong news. You're trending on LinkedIn. Mom was still staring at her phone. These numbers, Quinn, these are more money than you can imagine, I supplied. Yes, they are, and that's just the beginning. So what happens now? Trinity asked quietly. With the reunion? With everything? I walked to the windows, looking out at the ocean I now owned. Now we do things differently. The reunion will happen, but under new management. Meaning, Nelson challenged. Meaning I've already booked the top floor of the Four Seasons for everyone. The beach house, I turned back to them, needs some private time with its new owner. You're kicking us out? Mom's voice cracked. No, Mom, I'm showing you what it feels like to be excluded. The difference is I'm doing it with 5-star accommodations and an ocean view. Dad stood again, this time more slowly. We deserved that, all of it. But Quinn, are you sure this is what you want? What I want? I looked at each of them in turn. What I want is 20 years of missed birthdays and ignored accomplishments. What I want is an explanation for why I was never good enough. But since I can't have those things, I pulled out a stack of hotel reservations, sliding them across the table. I'll settle for watching you all realize exactly what you missed out on. Trinity picked up a reservation, gasping at the sweet description. This must have cost less than an hour of my new salary, I cut her off. Consider it a parting gift before Hong Kong. How long? Mom asked, her voice small. How long will you be gone? I smiled, thinking of all the family events I'd missed over the years. Long enough for you to understand what absence feels like. Now, shall we discuss those new reunion rules? The silence that followed was heavy with 2 decades of regret, none of it mine. The Four Seasons lobby buzzed with activity as my family checked into their suites. I stood back, watching Trinity's kids race around the marble columns, while Nelson awkwardly tried to impress the concierge with small talk. Your car is ready, Ms. Quinn, the valet approached with a discreet bow. Mom's head snapped around at his deferent tone. I saw her eyes widen as she took in my Bentley waiting outside. Quinn, she called out, hurrying over. We need to talk. Properly talk. Actually, I have a meeting. I checked my watch. The merger doesn't pause for family drama. Please, she touched my arm, the first physical contact we'd had in years. Just coffee? 20 minutes? I studied her face, noting the new wrinkles around her eyes. Fine, the rooftop lounge, 15 minutes. Upstairs, Mom fidgeted with her coffee cup while I answered urgent emails about Hong Kong. Finally, she spoke. I didn't know you were so accomplished. Clearly, I set my phone down, though you never asked. We thought... She paused, searching for words. After you dropped out of law school, I didn't drop out, I corrected sharply. I got accepted to business school instead, a full scholarship to Harvard, which you'd know if you'd bothered to read any of my letters. Your father and I, we just wanted you to have a stable career. Like Trinity's law practice that she never actually started, or Nelson's string of failed startups that you kept funding. The door opened and Savannah walked in, stopping short when she saw us. Oh, sorry, I can come back. No, stay, I waved her over. Mom was just explaining why they never believed in me. Mrs. Brooks, Savannah nodded coolly. Long time no see. Though I guess you wouldn't remember me from all those holidays I spent with Quinn while you were at Trinity's house. Mom had the grace to look embarrassed. Savannah, of course I remember you. Save it. Savannah sat down. I'm just here to finalize the Hong Kong details with Quinn. You know, for her massive promotion that you all ignored. My phone buzzed. Trinity. Mom okay? She looks upset. She's fine, I texted back, learning some hard truths. Quinn, Mom's voice was barely a whisper. Were we really that terrible? Savannah snorted, but I held up a hand. You weren't terrible, Mom. You were indifferent, which was worse. We can fix this, she pleaded. Now that you know I'm successful, I finished. Now that I have money and power and influence, that's not fixing things. That's just changing your mind because I proved you wrong. The door opened again. Dad this time. Your mother's been gone a while. Oh. Join us. I gestured to an empty chair. We're having a lovely chat about family dynamics. He sat heavily. Quinn, about the beach house. Already done, I cut him off. The back taxes are paid, the liens are cleared, and the property is fully renovated. You're welcome. That's not... He started. Not what you meant? I smiled tightly. No, it never is. Savannah opened her laptop. Quinn, we need to finalize your Hong Kong housing allowance. They're offering 3 options. The penthouse in Victoria Harbour, I said, without looking. I already decided. Mom's coffee cup clattered. Penthouse? Did you think international executives live in studio apartments? Savannah asked sweetly. My phone lit up with another text. Nelson. Family dinner tonight? My treat? Can't, I replied. Board dinner at Le Bernardin. Quinn? Dad leaned forward. We know we messed up, but pushing us away now, buying the beach house, moving to Hong Kong, is this really the answer? I stood, smoothing my skirt. The beach house isn't about pushing you away. It's about taking control of something you never thought I deserved. As for Hong Kong, I smiled. That's just good business. When will we see you? Mom's voice cracked. I'll be back for holidays. I gathered my things. Maybe, if I'm not too busy running my division. Savannah stood with me, her face triumphant. Don't worry, Mrs. Brooks. I'm sure Trinity will keep you updated on all the family news. She always has before. As we walked out, I heard Mom start to cry. Part of me wanted to turn back, to comfort her like I always had. But that part was getting smaller every day. You okay? Savannah asked in the elevator. I checked my reflection in the mirrored walls, adjusting my designer blazer. Never better. Ready for that board dinner? Born ready, she grinned. Though I have to ask, are you really going to make them stay at the hotel all reunion week? I smiled as the elevator doors opened. Oh, that's just the beginning. Wait until they see what I have planned for Christmas. The reunion dinner at the Four Seasons Ballroom was everything I'd orchestrated it to be. Crystal chandeliers sparkled overhead, string quartet music floated through the air, and my family sat at the main table looking thoroughly uncomfortable in their business casual attire amid the formal setting. Is all this really necessary? Nelson tugged at his borrowed tie. The concierge had supplied emergency formal wear when I'd forgotten to mention the dress code. You mean the 5-star catering? The premium open bar? The private balcony overlooking the ocean? I sipped my champagne. Consider it making up for all those reunions I missed. Trinity's husband whistled as servers presented the appetizers. This caviar is real beluga, isn't it? Only the best for family, I smiled. Though I'm sure it's nothing compared to the sandwich platters you usually serve at reunions. Mom hadn't touched her food. Quinn, can we talk? Privately? I led her to the balcony where the ocean breeze carried the scent of salt and money. Behind us, I could hear Trinity's kids exclaiming over the chocolate fountain. This is cruel, Mom said quietly. Cruel? I turned to face her. Treating my family to luxury is cruel? You know what I mean. Flaunting your success like this. The way you flaunted Trinity's law school graduation? Or Nelson's engagement party? I leaned against the railing. The parties I wasn't invited to? We were wrong, she whispered. Is that what you want to hear? What I want, I said carefully, is for you to understand exactly what you missed out on. Every promotion, every achievement, every milestone you ignored, it all led to this. To me, becoming someone who can book an entire hotel floor without blinking. The balcony door opened. Lance had arrived. Quinn? He nodded, then turned to Mom. Mrs. Brooks, I'm Lance Whitfield. I've been mentoring your daughter for the past decade. Mom's eyes widened. You're her boss? The one from the news? Actually, Lance smiled. As of next month, Quinn will be my equal in the corporate hierarchy. Possibly even my superior, given her trajectory. I watched Mom process this information, seeing the reality of my success finally sink in. The Hong Kong position, she said slowly. It's really that significant? Mom, I laughed. I'll be running operations for half of Asia. My signing bonus alone could buy the beach house twice over. Lance checked his watch. Speaking of which, the Tokyo office is waiting for our call, shall we? Of course, I turned to Mom. Enjoy the rest of dinner. The dessert course includes gold leaf. Try not to think about the cost. As we walked away, Lance muttered, brutal. I love it. Back in the ballroom, Remington had arrived with a surprise, copies of tomorrow's Wall Street Journal featuring my face on the business section. Hot off the press, he announced, distributing them to my shocked family members. Thought you might want a souvenir of your daughter's success. Dad picked up a copy with trembling hands. Global market leadership, revolutionary approach to international commerce. Don't strain yourself, Dad, I called out. The numbers might be a bit overwhelming for a small-town insurance agent. Trinity was reading aloud to her husband. Youngest executive to lead Asian operations, projected to increase market share by 300% within 5 years. Quinn, Nelson stood up suddenly. Can I talk to you about a business opportunity? Sorry, little brother. I checked my phone. My investment portfolio is fully managed, but I hear there are some great entry-level positions at my company. The string quartet began playing again as servers brought out the main course, Wagyu beef with truffle sauce. I watched my family try to maintain their composure amid the luxury they'd never imagined their forgotten daughter could provide. Your car is ready for the Tokyo call. The concierge appeared at my elbow. Thank you, James. I handed him $100 bill. Make sure my family gets anything they need. Of course, Ms. Quinn. As I gathered my things, Mum caught my arm. When will you be back? From Hong Kong? I looked around the ballroom, at the opulence, at my stunned family, at the life I'd built without them. You know what, Mom? I'm not sure. But don't worry, I'll send pictures, just like you all did with the reunion photos all these years. Walking out, I heard Remington announcing to the room, "And wait until you hear about her new penthouse in Victoria Harbour." The sound of my heels on marble echoed through the lobby, each step taking me further from the family that never believed in me and closer to the empire I'd built on their doubt. Let them eat Wagyu, I thought, and choke on every golden bite. The morning sun painted the beach house in golden light as I packed the last of my essentials for Hong Kong. Savannah sat on my bed, helping me sort through old photos I'd found in the attic. "Look at this one." She held up a faded picture. "Your 10th birthday. You're the only one looking at the camera while everyone fawns over Trinity's new puppy." A knock at the door interrupted my response. Mom stood in the doorway holding a small wooden box. "Can I come in?" she asked quietly. I nodded, continuing to pack. She sat on the edge of the bed, turning the box in her hands. "I found this in our attic," she said. "It's everything I saved about you, everything I was too proud to admit I kept." She opened the box. Inside were newspaper clippings, honor roll certificates, even the program from my MBA graduation they'd skipped. "You kept these?" My hands stilled on a silk blouse. "Every single one," she whispered. I told myself I was being practical, not encouraging pipe dreams. But really, I was scared. Scared of what? That you'd succeed where I failed. That you'd break free from the small-town life I settled for. She pulled out a business magazine from last year, one with my name and a 30 under 40 feature. "And you did." Savannah stood quietly. "I'll give you 2 a minute." "No," I caught her arm. "Stay. You're more family than most of them have been." My phone buzzed. Trinity. "At the beach. Can we talk?" "Send her up," I texted back. Minutes later, Trinity appeared, looking uncertain in the doorway. "Nelson's here too, and Dad. We wanted to see you before you left." They filed in, creating a cramped audience in my bedroom. Nelson clutched a manila envelope. "What's that?" I nodded toward it. "Investment proposals," he admitted. "But not for me, for the beach house. We've all contributed, if you'll let us." I raised an eyebrow. "I don't need your money." "We know," Dad stepped forward, "but we need to invest in something we should have invested in years ago. Our family." "Pretty words," I said, "but actions speak louder." "Then let our actions show you." Trinity pulled out her phone. "I've postponed my partnership acceptance, taking a sabbatical. Thought maybe I could visit you in Hong Kong, really get to know my sister. And I've enrolled in business courses," Nelson added. "Online classes. Thought maybe you could mentor me, actually do it right this time." Mom opened her box again, pulling out one last item, a key. "We don't expect you to forgive us," she said, "but maybe we can build something new, something better." I looked at the key. "What's this for?" "The front door," she smiled sadly. "I kept it all these years thinking it meant something, but you showed us what really matters isn't keys or houses or reunions. It's the people we choose to become." Savannah squeezed my hand as I took the key. "I'm still going to Hong Kong," I said firmly. "We know," they replied in unison. "And I'm still angry." "You should be," Dad acknowledged. "And this doesn't fix everything." "Nothing could," Mom said softly. "But maybe it's a start." I walked to the window looking out at our ocean. My ocean. Behind me, I heard the rustle of Nelson's papers, Trinity's nervous breathing, Mom's box of hidden pride. "The reunion," I said finally, "will alternate between here and Hong Kong, and you'll all need passports." The tension broke. Trinity laughed through tears. Nelson dropped his envelope, and Dad had to sit down. "Really?" Mom's voice shook. "Really?" I turned back to them. "But not because you've earned it. Because I choose it. There's a difference." Savannah grinned. "Does this mean I get to plan the Hong Kong reunion? Because I have ideas." "You're all going to learn Mandarin," I continued, "and proper business etiquette, and how to navigate international markets. Whatever it takes, Nelson said, and for once, I believed him. My phone buzzed. Lance. Car's here for the airport. That's my cue. I picked up my carry-on. Quinn? Mom stood. Thank you. Not for the forgiveness we don't deserve, but for the chance we didn't earn. I looked at them all, my imperfect, struggling, finally trying family. Don't waste it. Walking down to the waiting car, I heard them following, saw their reflections in the polished black paint, not chasing me anymore, but walking with me, different, but possible. Hong Kong won't know what hit it, Savannah declared, hugging me goodbye. I smiled, thinking of the view from my new office, the family learning to speak my language, the future expanding like the horizon before us. Neither will they, I said, and got in the car. The beach house stood proud behind us, no longer a symbol of exclusion, but a bridge between who we were and who we might become. Not perfect, but possible. And for now, that was enough.
The eviction notice felt like ice in my hands, its crisp edges cutting through the warmth of my birthday celebration. Just moments ago, I'd been smiling, surrounded by family, thinking this was going to be my best birthday yet. I'm Vivienne, and this is how my 30th birthday became the day my family betrayed me. Open it, dear. We're all so excited for you to see what's inside. My mother had urged, her eyes twinkling with what I now realize wasn't joy, but anxiety. The fancy envelope had seemed innocent enough, wrapped in silver paper with a delicate bow. The living room of my childhood home, the one I'd spent the last 5 years renovating, was filled with familiar faces. My cousin Salah sat perched on the armrest of the sofa, watching me with an expression I couldn't quite read. My brother Jace stood by the fireplace, hands shoved deep in his pockets, avoiding my gaze. Come on, Viv, we haven't got all day, Selah had chirped, her voice honey-sweet. I remember thinking how odd it was that she'd dressed up so formally for a simple family gathering. As I tore open the envelope, birthday cake still sweet on my tongue, the legal document inside made my stomach drop. Notice of eviction, stared back at me in bold, unforgiving letters. What is this? My voice came out barely above a whisper. Mom? Dad? My mother's face crumpled. Sweetheart, we've been trying to find the right time to tell you. Tell me what? I stood up, the paper trembling in my hands. That you're kicking me out of my own home? The home I've poured my savings into? My heart into? Selah cleared her throat. Vivienne, be reasonable. The house was never officially yours. The deed is still in your parents' names, and they've decided it's time for a change. A change? I spun to face her. What do you know about this? I'm just trying to help the family make the best financial decision, she said, smoothing her designer skirt. The market's hot right now, and... The market? I laughed, but it sounded more like a sob. This is my home, not some investment property. My brother finally spoke up. Viv, maybe we should discuss this privately. No. I slammed the paper down on the coffee table, making the cake plates rattle. I want answers now. Mom, Dad, why are you doing this? My father wouldn't meet my eyes. There have been concerns about your ability to maintain the property properly. Selah has shown us some concerning documentation. Documentation? I felt like I was drowning. What documentation? I've done nothing but improve this house. Look around you. New hardwood floors, updated kitchen, restored Victorian details. I did all of that. With questionable contractors. Selah interjected softly. And there are the noise complaints from neighbors, the unauthorized modifications. That's absolutely false. My voice cracked. I turned to my best friend Paisley, who stood frozen in the corner. Paise, tell them. You've been here through all the renovations. Paisley stepped forward, her face fierce. Everything Vivienne's done has been by the book. I've seen all the permits myself, but my family's expressions remained unchanged. My mother reached for my hand. Sweetie, you have 30 days to... I jerked away from her touch. 30 days? To leave my home? On my birthday? The room started spinning. How long have you been planning this? Selah stood up, straightening her blazer. I think we should all calm down and discuss this rationally. The decision's been made, Vivian. Fighting it will only make things harder. Looking at her face, that perfectly composed mask of false concern, something clicked. This wasn't just about the house. This was calculated, planned. The formal outfit, the documentation she'd mentioned, the way she'd positioned herself as the voice of reason. Get out, I whispered, then louder. Everyone get out. Vivian, my mother started. Now, they filed out one by one, leaving only Paisley behind. As the door closed behind my family, I collapsed onto the couch, the eviction notice mocking me from the coffee table. Paisley sat beside me, wrapping an arm around my shoulders. This isn't over, Viv. Something's not right here, and we're going to figure it out. I wiped my eyes, anger replacing shock. You're right. Selah's behind this somehow. She's always wanted this house, ever since we were kids. I straightened up, a new determination flooding through me. And I'm going to prove it. Looking around at my beloved home, at the walls I'd painted, the fixtures I'd restored, the memories I'd built, I made a promise to myself. This wouldn't be the last birthday I'd celebrate here. Not if I had anything to say about it. The morning after my disastrous birthday, I sat at my kitchen counter, staring at my phone. 17 missed calls from Mom. 5 from Jace. None from Selah, of course. You need to eat something, Paisley said, sliding a plate of toast in front of me. She'd stayed the night, sleeping on my couch like we used to do in college. You can't fight this on an empty stomach. I pushed the plate away. I can't eat. I need to figure out what Selah's been telling my parents. My hands shook as I pulled up my mother's contact information. I'm calling her. Put it on speaker, Paisley said, settling beside me. Mom answered on the first ring. Vivian, thank goodness, we've been so worried. Save it. I cut her off. I want to know exactly what Selah's been saying about me. A heavy sigh crackled through the speaker. Honey, it's not just what Selah said. She showed us documentation of unauthorized construction, complaints from the neighborhood association. That's impossible. I slammed my hand on the counter. I have every permit, every approval right here in my files. Who specifically complained? Well, I don't have the actual complaints in front of me. Selah handled all of that. Of course she did. I laughed bitterly. And did you bother to verify any of it? To ask me about it before ambushing me on my birthday? Silence stretched between us. Mom? Selah said you deny everything. She finally replied, her voice small. She said you've been struggling financially, that you've been cutting corners. I want copies of everything, I demanded. Every document, every complaint, everything Selah showed you. Today. Vivian, please understand. No, you understand. That house is my life. I've put every penny I have into it, and I'm not leaving without a fight. I hung up before she could respond. Paisley squeezed my shoulder. That's my girl. Now what? Now we gather evidence. I grabbed my laptop. I need proof that Selah's lying. My phone buzzed. A text from Jace. Meet me at Carlo's Coffee in 30. Need to talk. 20 minutes later, I walked into Carlo's, spotting my brother in our usual corner booth. His face was drawn, guilty. You knew, I accused, sliding into the seat across from him. You knew what they were planning. Jace ran a hand through his hair. I found out yesterday morning. Mom and Dad swore me to secrecy. Said Selah had proof you were in trouble. And you believed her? Of course not. He leaned forward. Look, something weird is going on. Last week, I overheard Selah on the phone talking about property values and development opportunities in the neighborhood. My heart stopped. Development opportunities? Yeah. And get this, her fiancé Valentin? His family owns that new luxury condo complex downtown. The pieces started falling into place. Our street was one of the last historic areas in town, prime for development. My house sat on the largest lot. She wants to sell it to developers, I whispered. That's why she's doing this. There's more, Jace said. I did some digging. Sela's been meeting with the City Planning Commission. And guess who else attended those meetings? Mom and Dad? He nodded. They think they're protecting you from financial ruin, but Sela's playing them. She's convinced them selling is the only way to save you from yourself. My phone buzzed again. An email from Mom with attachments. I opened them, scanning quickly. These documents. I showed them to Jace. The letterhead is wrong. The permit numbers don't match my records. She forged them. Keep your voice down, Jace warned, glancing around. Sela's got friends everywhere. I don't care. This is proof she's lying. I stood up, energized. I need to show Mom and Dad. Wait. Jace grabbed my wrist. Sela's wedding to Valentine is in 2 weeks. Everyone will be there. Family, friends, business associates. If you're going to expose her, that's your chance to do it properly. I sank back into my seat, mind racing. 2 weeks to gather evidence, to prove she's trying to steal my home for her fiancé's development company. I'll help, Jace said firmly. So will Paisley, but we have to be smart about this. I nodded, determination replacing despair. Sela thinks she's won, that I'll just roll over and accept this, but she has no idea what I'm capable of. Walking home, I called Paisley. Hey, remember that friend of yours who works at the city planning office? We need to talk to her. Now. The game was on, and this time I was playing to win. The planning office smelled like stale coffee and printer ink. Paisley's friend Amanda pulled another file from the cabinet, adding it to the growing stack on her desk. These are all the development proposals for your neighborhood from the past 6 months, she said, keeping her voice low despite the empty office. Including 3 from Valrum Development Group. Valentine's company. I muttered, flipping through the pages. My hands froze on a familiar sketch. This is my house. Paisley leaned over my shoulder. Look at the date. This was filed 2 months ago. Before the eviction notice, I said, anger building. Before any of this started. Amanda glanced nervously at the door. There's something else? These signatures here? She pointed to the bottom of the document. Your parents' names, authorizing the preliminary survey. My stomach lurched. They've been planning this for months. Viv. Paisley grabbed my arm, pointing to another name. Look who notarized it. The name jumped off the page. Marcus Quinn, Sela's father. That sneaky little... I stopped as footsteps echoed in the hallway. Amanda quickly gathered the files, shoving them back into the cabinet. I've got copies at my desk, she whispered. I'll email them to you tonight. We barely made it out before someone entered the office. In the parking lot, I leaned against my car, trying to steady my breathing. We need to talk to Valentin, Paisley said. Maybe he doesn't know what Sela's doing. He has to know. His company filed the proposals. My phone rang. Jace. Sis, you need to get to Mom and Dad's. Now. What's wrong? Sela's here with some contractor talking about renovation plans. They're acting like they already own the place. I was already in my car. I'm coming. 15 minutes later, I stormed through my parents' front door. Sela's voice drifted from the kitchen, smooth as honey. The whole street will benefit from the modernization. Property values will soar. Over my dead body, I announced, making them all jump. Sela recovered first, her smile never wavering. Vivian, we were just discussing the neighborhood's future. You mean your future? Your fiancé's future? I slapped the development proposals on the kitchen table. When were you going to tell everyone about Valrum's plans? My mother's face paled. What is she talking about, Sela? Don't listen to her, Sela said quickly. She's just upset about the eviction. Show them, I demanded. Show them the real reason you want my house. The contractor cleared his throat awkwardly. I should go. Stay, Sela commanded. Vivian's just causing drama, as usual. Always so emotional about everything. Emotional? I laughed. You forged documents. You lied to my parents. You're trying to steal my home for your fiancé's development project. That's enough, my father shouted. Sela's been nothing but helpful. Helpful? I grabbed the proposals, throwing them in front of him. Look at the dates. Look at the signatures. She's been planning this for months. My mother picked up the papers with trembling hands. These aren't the documents you showed us, Sela. Because they're fake, Sela snapped. Vivian's desperate. She'll say anything. I have copies from the city planning office. I cut in. Official copies. Want to see them? For the first time, Sela's composure cracked. You went through official records? And I found everything. The fake complaints, the forged permits, the development plans. It's all there. The contractor stood up. Ms. Shelton, if there's some kind of legal issue, there's no issue, she said through gritted teeth. Everything's fine. My phone buzzed. An email from Amanda with the promised documents. I held up my phone triumphantly. Want to see the proof? It's right here. Sela's face hardened. You have no idea what you're doing, Vivian. No idea who you're dealing with. No, you have no idea who you're dealing with. I turned to my parents. Check your emails. I'm sending you everything. Every lie, every manipulation, every secret meeting with Valram Development. Sela? My mother's voice was small. Is this true? But Sela was already heading for the door, the contractor trailing behind her. At the threshold, she turned back. This isn't over, Vivian. Not by a long shot. After she left, silence filled the kitchen. My father stared at the documents, his face ashen. We should have asked you, he finally said. Should have verified. Yes, you should have. I gathered the papers. But now you know the truth. The question is, what are you going to do about it? I left them there, surrounded by evidence of their own misplaced trust. In my car, I called Paisley. Phase 1 complete, I said. Now we go after Valentin. Finding Valentin proved easier than I expected. He was at his usual lunch spot, a trendy cafe downtown with his sister Leah. I smoothed my blazer and approached their table, Paisley close behind me. Mind if we join you? I asked, not waiting for an answer before sliding into the empty chair. Valentin's fork clattered against his plate. Vivian, what are you doing here? Funny story. I was just at the city planning office looking at some very interesting documents about my house. Leah's eyes narrowed. Your house? The Victorian that Sela mentioned? The same one your brother's company plans to demolish, I said, watching Valentin's face carefully. Demolish? Leah turned to her brother. Val, what is she talking about? Valentin dabbed his mouth with a napkin. This isn't the place. It's exactly the place, I interrupted, pulling out the development proposals. Your company filed these 2 months ago. Before the eviction notice, before all of Sela's lies. Leah snatched the papers, her face darkening as she read. You're planning to tear down the entire street? Replace it with condos? It's a sound business decision, Valentin defended. The neighborhood's undervalued. It's my home, I cut in. And Sela's been manipulating my family to get it. She said your parents were willing sellers, Valentin said, but I caught the uncertainty in his voice. Paisley leaned forward. They were willing because Sela showed them forged documents claiming Vivian was mismanaging the property. She lied to everyone. Leah pushed her plate away, disgust evident. Is this why you're rushing the wedding? To close this deal? The timing is convenient, he admitted. Convenient? I laughed bitterly. You're destroying people's homes, their histories. Progress requires sacrifice. Valentin started, but Leah cut him off. No, this requires deception, and I won't be part of it. She stood up, gathering her things. Count me out of the wedding party. Leah, wait. Valentin called after his sister, but she was already storming out. I smiled sweetly. Trouble in paradise? You have no right to interfere in my business dealings, he hissed, and you have no right to my house. I stood up. By the way, I've sent copies of everything to the City Ethics Board. They're very interested in how Valram obtained those preliminary approvals. The color drained from his face. You're bluffing. Try me. I dropped a business card on the table. That's my lawyer's number. Use it. Outside, Leah was waiting by my car. I want to help. Why should I trust you? Because I've watched Sela manipulate my brother for months. Because I've seen the way she operates. Leah's eyes flashed. And because I have access to Valram's internal files. Paisley grabbed my arm. Viv, this could be huge. What's in it for you? I asked Leah. Justice, and the satisfaction of watching Sela's perfect plan implode. She pulled out her phone. Starting with these emails between her and my brother, dating back 6 months, I scanned the messages, my heart racing. There it was. Explicit discussion of their scheme to pressure my parents, to force the sale, to fast-track the development. This is exactly what we need. Paisley breathed. There's more, Leah said. Board meetings, private conversations, financial arrangements. I can get you everything. My phone buzzed. A text from Jace. Mom and Dad want to talk. They've seen the evidence. Looks like the tide is turning, I told Leah. But we need to move fast. The wedding's in 10 days. Perfect timing for everything to fall apart. She smiled grimly. I'll send you what I have tonight. As Leah walked away, Paisley turned to me. Are you sure about this? Using her? She's using us too, I pointed out. But right now we want the same thing. My phone buzzed again. An unknown number. The message made my blood run cold. Back off now or you'll regret it. Some things are worth more than a house. S. Paisley read over my shoulder. She's threatening you. She's desperate, I corrected, saving the message as evidence. And desperate people make mistakes. I headed toward my car, determination fueling every step. Let's go see my parents. It's time to show them exactly who they've been protecting. The pieces were falling into place, faster than I'd hoped. But Sela's threat lingered in my mind, a warning that this fight was far from over. And something told me the worst was yet to come. I woke to the sound of breaking glass. Jumping out of bed, I rushed downstairs to find my front window shattered, a brick lying among the shards. A note was wrapped around it. Final warning. My hands shook as I called the police. While waiting, I texted Paisley and Jace. They arrived before the officers did. This has gone too far, Jace said, examining the brick. You need to be careful, Viv. I'm not backing down now. I handed the note to the police officer who was taking my statement. This is connected to a larger situation. I have documentation. Just file a restraining order, the officer suggested, looking bored. Not much we can do without proof of who threw it. After they left, Paisley helped me board up the window. At least we have Leah's evidence now. Those emails she sent last night are devastating. Speaking of which, I checked my phone. 3 missed calls from my mother. I need to go see them. They've had time to process everything. I'm coming with you, Jace insisted. 20 minutes later, we sat in our parents' living room. Mom's eyes were red from crying. We've been such fools, she whispered. All those documents Salah showed us, we wanted to believe she was helping. The development plans, Dad added, his voice heavy. We had no idea they planned to demolish the whole street. We thought they were just renovating. Sela knew exactly what buttons to push, I said. She played on your concerns about me, made you think I was in trouble. She's been manipulating this family for years, Jace added. Remember when she convinced you to give her grandma's jewelry instead of Viv? Mom's face crumpled. She said you didn't want it, that you thought it was old-fashioned. I never said that. I swallowed hard. Just like I never made unauthorized changes to the house. Never had complaints from neighbors. We know that now, Dad said. We've talked to everyone on the street. No one ever complained. In fact, they all love what you've done with the place. My phone buzzed. Leah. Emergency. Meet me at Riverside Park. Now. I have to go. I stood up. But first, are you with me on this? Really with me? Mom squared her shoulders. We'll do whatever it takes to make this right. At the park, Leah paced near the fountain, her face pale. Salah knows I helped you. She's threatening to reveal something about my past to the board of Valram. What something? A mistake I made years ago. It could ruin my career. She ran her hands through her hair. I can't risk it. Hey, I grabbed her shoulders. Whatever it is, it can't be worse than what she's doing now. You don't understand. My whole life could fall apart. Then let it. The words came out harder than I intended. Sometimes you have to lose everything to do the right thing. Leah's eyes filled with tears. Easy for you to say. You're just fighting for a house. No, I'm fighting for justice, for truth. For every person Selah has ever manipulated or hurt. I softened my tone. Including you. She wiped her eyes. There's something else. I overheard Valentine on the phone. They're moving up the timeline. They want to close the deal right after the wedding. That's in a week. Less. The rehearsal dinner is in 3 days. Leah straightened up. You're right. I can't let her win. Not again. My phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. Hope you enjoyed the brick. Next time it won't be your window. S. I showed Leah the message. Her face hardened. She's really losing it. Good, I said. The more desperate she gets, the more mistakes she'll make. The rehearsal dinner, Leah said suddenly. All the investors will be there. The board members, the family. Perfect time to expose everything. But Selah will be expecting something. She'll be prepared. I smiled grimly. Then we'll have to be better prepared. I need every document, every email, every piece of evidence you can get. And I need them tonight. Leah nodded. I'll have them to you in 2 hours. As she walked away, my phone buzzed again. This time it was Paisley. Your mom just called. Salah's at their house. She's crying, saying you're trying to ruin her life. Your parents aren't buying it, but she's putting on quite a show. I texted back. Let her perform. In 3 days, she'll have a real reason to cry. The stakes were higher now, the threats more serious. But with each desperate move Selah made, she only proved how close we were to bringing her down. The countdown to the rehearsal dinner had begun. The day before the rehearsal dinner, I sat in my lawyer's office, surrounded by stacks of evidence. Sarah, my attorney, flipped through the documents with growing interest. These emails between Selah and Valram are damning, she said. And the forged documents? That's criminal. But is it enough? I asked. To stop the development? Absolutely. To press charges? Probably. She leaned forward. But are you sure you want to do this at the rehearsal dinner? It's perfect timing. All the investors will be there, plus the entire family. My phone buzzed. Another threat from Selah. Last chance to back down. Remember, I know about Miami. Sarah caught my expression. What's wrong? She's trying to blackmail me now. I showed her the text. But the Miami thing, it's nothing. Just a spring break mistake from college that she thinks she can use against me. Document everything, Sarah advised, handing me a USB drive. I've organized all the evidence here, including the police report about the brick. Are you sure you don't want private security? I'll be fine. Jason Paisley will be with me tomorrow night. Outside the office, I found Leah waiting in her car. Get in. There's something you need to see. She drove us to Valram's office building, parking in the underground garage. Valentine and Selah are in a board meeting upstairs, but look at this. She pulled out her tablet, showing me security footage from earlier that day. Selah was arguing with someone in the garage. Her father. Turn up the volume, I said. I can't keep covering for you, her father was saying. The notary stamps, the forged documents, it's too much risk. Daddy, please, just one more day. After the rehearsal dinner, it won't matter anymore. What's happening after the rehearsal dinner? I asked Leah. I don't know, but they've booked a private room at the restaurant. Invitation only, after the main event. My phone rang. Paisley. Viv, you need to get home now. Someone's been in your house. I broke every speed limit getting back. Paisley and Jace were waiting outside. Inside, my breath caught. Every renovation I'd done, every wall I'd painted, every fixture I'd restored, had been photographed and marked with bright red X's. They're documenting everything they plan to destroy, Jace said quietly. Paisley picked up a business card left on the counter. Look who's handling the demolition. The company name made my blood boil. It belonged to Sella's uncle. They're keeping it all in the family, I said bitterly. How did they even get in? Your mom called, Jace said. Sela asked to borrow her spare key this morning. Said she needed to measure for wedding decorations. And Mom gave it to her? No. But when she refused, Sela broke down crying, saying you were trying to ruin her special day. Mom felt guilty and admitted where she keeps the spare. I sank onto the stairs, looking at the red X's everywhere. This was my grandmother's house. I learned to walk on these floors. Had my first kiss in that bay window. And you're not going to lose it, Paisley said firmly. Tomorrow night, we end this. My phone buzzed with a text from Leah. Emergency. Salah's changed the seating arrangements. You're not invited to the private meeting anymore. Doesn't matter, I texted back. We'll do it during the main dinner. More witnesses that way. I spent the rest of the day with Sarah, finalizing our strategy. By nightfall, everything was ready. Lying in bed that night, I heard footsteps on my porch. Grabbing my phone to call the police, I crept to the window. But it was just my mother, leaving something by the door. I opened it to find a small package with a note. Your grandmother wanted you to have this. I should have given it to you years ago. Love, Mom. Inside was my grandmother's antique locket, the one Sela had claimed I didn't want. Opening it, I found a tiny photograph of my grandmother standing proudly in front of the house, the day she bought it. My phone lit up with one final threat from Sela. Hope you're ready for tomorrow, because I am. I touched the locket, then looked at the red X's marking my walls. Bring it on, I whispered. Tomorrow, everything would change. Either I'd save my home and expose Salah's schemes, or I'd lose everything I'd fought for. But looking at my grandmother's proud smile in that old photograph, I knew one thing for certain. I wasn't going down without a fight. The rehearsal dinner couldn't come soon enough. The rehearsal dinner buzzed with nervous energy. Salah held court at the main table, resplendent in white, while Valentine worked the room, charming investors. I sat between Paisley and Jace, my grandmother's locket cool against my skin, waiting for the right moment. Look who just arrived, Paisley whispered. Sarah, my lawyer, walked in with Leah, right on schedule. Sela's smile flickered for just a moment before she recovered, rising to greet them. Leah, darling, I was worried you wouldn't make it after our disagreement. Wouldn't miss it, Leah said coldly, then turned to the assembled guests. Have you met Sarah? She's a fascinating person, specializes in real estate fraud. The room quieted slightly. Valentin appeared at Sela's side, his hand tight on her arm. Perhaps we should start the toasts, he suggested. Wonderful idea. I stood up, raising my glass. I'd like to go first. Sela's face drained of color. That's not on the program. Oh, but I insist. I moved to the center of the room. After all, what kind of cousin would I be if I didn't congratulate you on your achievements? The room fell silent. All eyes on me. Vivian, my mother warned softly. It's okay, Mom. I'm just going to share some interesting documents with everyone. I nodded to Sarah, who began distributing folders to the investors. Consider it my wedding gift. Security, Sela called out, but Leah was already blocking the door. Let's start with these emails, I continued, my voice carrying across the stunned room. Detailed plans to forge documents, manipulate my family, and steal my home for Valrum's development project. Valentine stepped forward. These are private business matters. Fraud is never private, Sarah interjected. Neither is forgery, which brings us to Exhibit B, the falsified complaints and permits, complete with unauthorized notary stamps from Selah's father. Selah's father stood up, face red. Now wait just a minute. The ethics board is very interested in your involvement, Sarah added smoothly. They'll be in touch. You're ruining everything, Selah shrieked, lunging for the folders. But Jace was faster, already passing copies to the board members. Like you tried to ruin my life? I asked. The threats? The brick through my window? The break-in? Gasps rippled through the crowd. Valentine's sister stood up. The police have been notified, she announced. About everything. Val, do something, Selah pleaded. But Valentine was busy reading the documents, his face growing darker with each page. You told me her family agreed to sell, that everything was legal. It was just business, Selah protested. A simple property acquisition. Simple? I pulled out my phone, playing the security footage Leah had given me. Selah's voice filled the room. After the rehearsal dinner, it won't matter anymore. What were you planning? Valentine demanded. What happens after dinner? Selah's silence was damning. Her father broke it. The demolition crew is scheduled for midnight, he admitted. We thought if the house was already down, you were going to destroy my home? Tonight? My voice cracked. While everyone was celebrating your wedding? The room erupted in chaos. Investors stormed out. Board members huddled in corners. Family members argued loudly. Through it all, Selah stood frozen, her perfect world crumbling. The development deal is off, Valentine announced. And so is the wedding. But the deposits? The contracts? Selah's voice was small. Are void due to fraud, Sarah supplied helpfully, as is the eviction notice. My mother approached Selah slowly. How could you do this? To family? Because she never cared about family, I said quietly. Only power, control, getting what she wants no matter who she hurts. Selah's composure finally broke. You think you've won? You've ruined everything I worked for. No, I touched my grandmother's locket. You did that yourself. Every lie, every scheme, every betrayal. That was all you. The police arrived then, asking questions, taking statements. I watched as Selah's carefully constructed facade crumbled completely. The house is yours, my father said, hugging me tight. It always was. We forgot what family really means. Later, standing outside the restaurant, Paisley squeezed my hand. How does it feel? I looked at the night sky, thinking of my grandmother's photograph. Like justice, like home. My phone buzzed one last time. A message from Leah. Board meeting tomorrow. Val Ram's pulling out of all neighborhood developments. You did it. Justice indeed. But watching Selah being escorted to a police car, mascara streaking her cheeks, I felt no joy in her destruction. Only relief that my home, my family's legacy was safe at last. The morning sun streamed through my newly repaired window as I sipped coffee on my front porch. The newspaper headline caught my eye. Valram Development faces investigation, CEO steps down. Below it, a smaller headline. Local woman charged with fraud, criminal conspiracy. My phone rang. Leah. Have you seen the news? Just reading it now. How are you holding up? Better than expected. The board appointed me interim CEO. Turns out exposing corruption has its perks. A car pulled into my driveway. My parents. Mom carried a large box while Dad lugged what looked like photo albums. I'll call you back, I told Leah. Mom set the box down carefully. We've been going through the attic, found some things that belong here. Inside were pieces of my grandmother's life. Her journals, recipes, old letters. Dad opened one of the albums, pointing to a yellowed photograph. That's her. The day she bought this house. Said it was the proudest moment of her life. Until you were born, Mom added softly. She always wanted you to have it. The screen door creaked open as Paisley emerged with more coffee. "Look who just pulled up." A police car parked across the street. Officer Martinez approached, holding a document. "Ms. Harding, we've recovered some items from Sella's office, things she took from your house." He handed me a folder. "Also thought you should know. She's agreed to a plea deal. Full confession." "Thank you," I said, taking the folder. Inside were old photographs she'd stolen years ago, claiming they'd been lost. "The DA wants to know if you'll testify about the harassment," Officer Martinez added. I looked at my repaired window, remembering the brick, the threats, the fear. "Yes, I will." He nodded and left. Mom touched one of the recovered photographs. "Your 5th birthday," she said. "Selah was so jealous of your party, she threw cake at you. We should have seen the signs back then." "We all missed the signs," I said. "But we can't change the past." Jace's truck rumbled up the street, Valentine surprisingly in the passenger seat. They carried construction supplies. "Before you say anything," Jace called out. He volunteered. Valentine set down a paint can. "I owe you. We all do. Let me help restore what we almost destroyed." I studied him for a moment, then nodded. "Start with the back porch. It needs new railings." The day unfolded like a healing breath. While Jace and Valentine worked on repairs, Mom and I sorted through grandmother's belongings. Paisley organized a neighborhood potluck on the lawn. Even Leah stopped by, bringing corporate documents showing Valrum's new commitment to historic preservation. "The board wants to establish a fund," she explained, "to help homeowners restore historic properties instead of demolishing them." "Karma works in mysterious ways," Paisley mused. As evening approached, neighbors gathered on my lawn, sharing food and stories. Mrs. Rodriguez from next door brought her famous empanadas. "Your grandmother loved these," she told me. She hosted dinners like this all the time. The house was always full of people, full of life. I touched my locket, thinking of the photograph inside. Maybe it's time to restart that tradition. Dad raised his glass. "To new beginnings." "And old foundations," Mom added. My phone buzzed. A text from Sarah. "Plea deal finalized. Selah's serving time. The house is officially safe." Looking around at my gathered family, friends, and neighbors, I realized something. This house wasn't just walls and windows, not just a property to be saved. It was a home, alive with memories and possibilities. "You know," Paisley said, "your birthday's coming up again." "No surprise parties this time," I laughed. "No," she agreed. "But maybe a housewarming to celebrate properly?" I watched Jace and Valentine arguing good-naturedly about porch designs, Mom sharing grandmother's recipes with neighbors, Dad telling stories about the house's history to enthralled listeners. "I'd like that," I said. "A fresh start." The evening wind carried the scent of blooming jasmine, grandmother's favorite. She'd planted it along the fence years ago, and like the house itself, it had endured. "To fresh starts," I raised my glass, "and to coming home." The gathered crowd echoed the toast, their voices mixing with crickets and distant wind chimes. This was what Selah never understood, what no development plan could capture. The heart of a home, beating strong through generations. I sat on my porch steps, surrounded by love and laughter, knowing that while the battle for my house was over, the story of this home was just beginning. And this time, every page would be filled with joy, not fear. With welcome, not walls. With family, the kind you're born to and the kind you choose. This was my legacy, my victory, my peace. And it was beautiful.
My phone lit up with Mom's name, and I already knew what was coming. The smugness in her voice confirmed it before she even finished her first sentence. "Elena, honey, we just gave Bobby the money for his house down payment. $100,000. Isn't that wonderful?" I gripped my coffee mug tighter, forcing cheerfulness into my voice. "That's great, Mom. Really great. I know you probably wish you could have helped him too, sweetie. But with your lifestyle choices, we understood you needed to focus on yourself." My lifestyle choices. Right. Like building a 7-figure consulting business from scratch, like paying their mortgage for 3 years when Dad lost his job, like funding their 35th anniversary cruise last summer when they couldn't possibly afford it. Actually, Mom, Oh, and Bobby's already picked out the most darling colonial in Highland Park. 4 bedrooms, perfect for when he finally settles down with a nice girl. You remember Sarah from church? Her daughter just moved back to town. I let her ramble while opening my laptop. Right on schedule, a notification popped up from my banking app. They'd tried accessing the joint account I'd quietly closed last month. 3 attempted logins in the past hour. Mom, I cut in. I should go. Client meeting. Always working. You know, Elena, men don't find that very Bye, Mom. Give my love to Dad. I ended the call and immediately texted Monica. It's happening, they just found out. Monica replied instantly. Holy shit, you actually did it, you okay? Was I okay? I stared at my reflection in the window of my home office. 32 years old, self-made, and finally done being the family ATM. My phone buzzed again. Dad this time. Then Mom. Then Bobby. I silenced them all and opened my email instead, where a message from my lawyer, Zechariah, waited. Account secured. All traces of your involvement removed. They can't touch you now. I should have felt guilty. That's what good daughters feel when they cut off their parents, right? But watching the notifications pile up, the desperate attempts to access money that was never really theirs, I just felt tired. Tired and ready. Another text from Monica. Want me to come over? We can drink wine and burn family photos? Rain check, I replied. But there's something you should see. I pulled up a spreadsheet I'd been maintaining for years. Every loan, every emergency payment, every guilt trip-induced transfer. The total at the bottom still made me wince. $342,876.54. My phone rang again. Bobby. I answered this time, curious. Elena, what the hell? He was breathing hard. Mom's freaking out. The account's empty. Not empty, I corrected. Closed. There's a difference. But I need that money. The down payment. You mean the $100,000 they just gave you? Seems like you're covered. That's different. This was emergency money. I laughed. Actually laughed. Your emergencies or mine, Bobby? Because I've been handling everyone's emergencies for a decade now. You're being selfish. He spat. You've always been like this, thinking you're better than everyone. No, I cut him off. I've always been convenient. There's a difference there, too. The doorbell rang. I checked my security camera, Mom and Dad, looking panicked on my front step. Bobby, I have to go. Congratulations on the house. I hung up as my phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. I heard what you did. Smart girl. Call me. We should talk. Lucia. My cousin. The other family exile. I hadn't heard from her in years, not since she'd been branded difficult for questioning our grandmother's will. The doorbell rang again, more insistent this time. I watched my parents on the camera, their faces growing increasingly desperate. Dad was holding papers, probably bank statements. Mom was crying. I sat back in my chair, sipping my now cold coffee, and opened my calendar. In exactly 1 month, Bobby's first mortgage payment would be due. In 2 months, Dad's property taxes. In 3 months, Mom's medical bills. They'd figure it out. They'd have to. Just like I had, every time they'd drained me dry and called it love. My phone buzzed with Lucia's message again. Outside, my parents finally gave up and walked away, but not before Dad slipped a note under my door. I didn't need to read it. I knew what it said. The thing about family is, they never expect you to stop playing your assigned role. The reliable daughter. The convenient ATM. The quiet fixer of other people's messes. But roles can change, and I was done playing mine. I picked up my phone and typed, "Hi, Lucia. Let's talk." "You look tired, honey. Are you eating enough? Working too hard again?" Mom fussed with my collar at Sunday dinner, her fingers lingering just long enough to make it feel like an accusation. A woman your age needs to take care of herself. You're not getting any younger. I smiled tightly, carefully extracting myself from her grip. The dining room was suffocating with fake pleasantries and the smell of pot roast. Bobby sat across from me, practically glowing as he detailed his new house plans to Dad. And the master bath has this huge soaking tub. Perfect for a future wife, right? He winked at Mom, who beamed back adoringly. Speaking of which, Mom chirped, Sarah's daughter Rachel is single again. Such a sweet girl, and she works part-time at the library. Much more suitable hours than what you keep, Elena. I stabbed a potato with more force than necessary. My hours suit me just fine, Mom. My business cleared 7 figures last year. The table went silent. Dad's fork clattered against his plate. That's very aggressive of you, sweetheart, Mom finally said, her voice dripping with concern. Men don't usually like women who make more than them, I finished. Yeah, you've mentioned that several times. Bobby laughed nervously. Come on, sis. No need to get all feminist about it. Hey, want to hear about the wine cellar I'm planning? Actually, I set down my fork. I'd love to hear how you're affording all these renovations, considering your salary at the car dealership. More silence. Dad cleared his throat. Elena, that's not very… What? Not very ladylike to ask about money? Funny, you never thought it was unladylike when you needed me to cover your mortgage. That was different, Mom snapped. That was family helping family. This attitude of yours, this cutthroat business mentality, it's not healthy. My phone buzzed. A text from Zechariah. Final paperwork filed. You're officially clear. I smiled, genuinely this time. You know what's not healthy, Mom? The fact that I paid for your knee surgery last year while you were setting aside money for Bobby's house fund. Bobby's face reddened. Hey, that's not fair. You're just jealous because… Because what? I stood up, my chair scraping back. Because I worked my ass off while you coasted? Because I built something real while you waited for handouts? Or because I finally stopped being everyone's backup plan? Elena! Dad slammed his hand on the table. That is enough. Apologize to your brother right now. I laughed, a sharp, cold sound that made Mom flinch. No. What did you say? I said no. I'm done apologizing for being successful. I'm done being told I'm too ambitious, too aggressive, too much. And I'm definitely done watching you throw money at Bobby while treating me like an ATM with a personality disorder. Mom started crying. Right on cue. How can you be so cruel? After everything we've done for you. Everything you've done for me? I pulled out my phone, opened my notes app. Let's review, shall we? Last 3 years. Your mortgage, $48,000. Mom's surgery, $35,000. Dad's car repair, $12,000. Bobby's temporary loan, $15,000. The anniversary cruise you couldn't afford, $8,000. Stop it, Dad warned. And now, I continued, you give Bobby $100,000 for a house he can't afford, while telling me I need to be more suitable for marriage? Make it make sense, Mom. Bobby stood up, face purple. You're just bitter because you're alone. At least I'm trying to build a real life. A real life built on Mom and Dad's money. And what you thought would be my money too, right? That's why you got Nick to co-sign instead of asking me? Because you knew I'd see right through it? His silence was answer enough. My phone buzzed again. Monica, you okay? Need backup? I texted back quickly. Almost done. Meeting you in 20. If you walk out that door, Dad said quietly, don't bother coming back. I looked at him. Really looked at him. The man who taught me to ride a bike and balance a checkbook, now threatening me for having the audacity to succeed on my own terms. That's the thing, Dad. I'm not the one who needs to come back. I'm not the one who's going to need anything from anyone anymore. I grabbed my purse and headed for the door. Behind me, Mom called out, Elena, please, we're your family. I turned back one last time. No, you're not. You're just people who expected me to set myself on fire to keep everyone else warm. And I'm all out of matches. The door closed behind me with a soft click. My phone buzzed with a text from Lucia. Did you do it? Yes, I replied, walking to my car. Your turn. The sun was setting as I drove away, casting long shadows across the neighborhood where I grew up. Where I learned that being a good daughter meant being a convenient one. Where I finally learned to say no. Behind me, in that house with its perfectly manicured lawn and carefully maintained appearances, my family was about to learn what happens when their safety net decides to save herself instead. Your brother missed his first mortgage payment, Monica announced, sliding into our usual booth at the coffee shop. 3 weeks late and counting. I stirred my latte, unsurprised. Let me guess, he tried calling me first? 17 times, according to your blocked calls log. She pulled out her phone. Also, your mom's been posting passive-aggressive Bible quotes on Facebook. Something about ungrateful children and eternal damnation. How original. I took a sip of my coffee just as my phone lit up with an unknown number. Nick's voice came through, tight with panic. Elena, please don't hang up, it's about Bobby. I put the call on speaker for Monica's benefit. What about him? He told me you'd cover the payments if things got tight, said it was already arranged. I never would have co-signed if you'd known he was lying? I finished. Yeah, that tracks. Elena, please, my credit score is not my problem, I cut in. Neither is Bobby's mortgage or his lies. After he hung up, Monica leaned forward. You know this is going to get worse before it gets better, right? They're not going to just accept that the Bank of Elena is closed. As if on cue, my phone rang again. Mom? Elena? Her voice was wobbling. Baby, we need to talk about Bobby's situation. Do we? He's your brother. He's struggling and we can't help right now. Our savings. You mean the savings you emptied for his down payment? A pause. That was different. We assumed you'd help if he needed it. You always have before. And that's exactly the problem, Mom. You all assumed I'd keep fixing everything. Did you ever once ask if I wanted to? If I could afford to? But you're so successful. She was crying now. You have that big business, all those clients. And that makes me what? The family piggy bank? That's not fair. We're blood, Elena. Family helps family. I thought about the spreadsheet on my laptop. Years of one-way help documented in cold, hard numbers. Funny how that only seems to apply to me helping everyone else. Is this about the house money? Are you really this jealous of your brother? No, Mom. This is about patterns. This is about consequences. Monica was watching me intently, concern etched on her face. She mouthed, You okay? Elena, Mom's voice hardened. If you don't help your brother, he could lose everything. Then he'll know exactly how I felt every time you drained my accounts for emergencies. Every time you dismissed my success as somehow wrong or unfeminine. Every time you picked him over me. That's not... Did you know I had to postpone buying my own house 3 years ago? Because Dad needed that new truck for his image? Or that I canceled my vacation last year to pay for your cruise? Silence on the line. But sure, Mom, let's talk about Bobby losing everything. After I hung up, Monica slid her hand across the table. You're shaking. I'm angry, I corrected. There's a difference. My phone buzzed with a text from Lucia. Heads up, they're calling the whole family, trying to paint you as unstable, ungrateful, classic playbook. Let them, I texted back. Monica frowned at her phone. Your mom's already posted 3 more Bible quotes. And, oh wow, Bobby just went live on Facebook. He's crying about family betrayal and toxic success. I laughed despite myself. Toxic success? That's new. Elena, Monica's voice turned serious. Are you sure about this? Watching them implode might feel good now, but This isn't about feeling good, I interrupted. This is about finally letting them face reality. They made their choices. They chose to enable Bobby, to exploit me, to build their whole lives on the assumption that I'd keep sacrificing myself for their comfort. And now? Now they get to live with those choices. My phone lit up again. Nick had posted publicly about Bobby's missed payments. The comments were already flowing in. Family members choosing sides, old friends expressing shock. "Your dad's texting," Monica reported, still monitoring the fallout. "Says he's coming to your office tomorrow to sort this out once and for all." I pulled up my calendar, already knowing what I'd find. Perfect timing. My lawyer will be there too. Zechariah and Lucia. I showed her the meeting invitation. Time to show them exactly what they've been playing with. Monica sat back, studying me. "You know what scares them most? It's not losing the money. It's losing control. You were supposed to be the reliable one, the fixer, the good daughter. Instead, I'm the mirror," I finished. Showing them exactly who they are, and they hate what they're seeing. Outside, rain started falling, soft and steady. Somewhere across town, my brother was probably still crying on Facebook. My parents were probably still quoting scripture about ungrateful children. And I was finally free of the obligation to care. My phone buzzed one last time. "Lucia, ready for tomorrow?" "More than ready," I replied. Time to show them what consequences really look like. Lucia looked exactly as I remembered her. Sharp eyes, sharper smile, and an air of carefully contained fury. She sat across from me at the upscale restaurant, stirring her martini with deliberate precision. "I saw this coming 10 years ago," she said. "When they did the same thing to me. Different details, same story." "The trust fund?" I asked. She nodded. "Grandmother left it for both of us. Your mom, my dear aunt, convinced everyone I was unstable because I questioned their authority. Next thing I knew, poof, money gone, family turned against me, branded the difficult one." "How much?" 200,000 each. She took a sip. "But you already knew that, didn't you? That's why you called me back." I pulled out my laptop, opened a folder labeled Family Assets. "Look at this." I turned the screen toward her. 3 weeks before they gave Bobby the house money, there was a transfer from an old account. One I used to fund their emergencies. Lucia leaned forward, eyes narrowing. "They used your own money to give him the down payment?" 40,000 of it. Money I'd sent them last year for Mom's medical bills. I closed the laptop. Bills that mysteriously never got paid, according to the hospital's records. "Jesus!" Lucia sat back. "And they still don't think they did anything wrong, do they?" Mom's latest Facebook post calls me a daughter of Jezebel. So no. The waiter brought our entrees. We ate in silence for a moment before Lucia spoke again. "There's something else you should know." She pulled out her phone, showed me an email. "Remember that property in Spain? The one grandfather left to all the grandchildren?" My fork froze halfway to my mouth. "The villa? What about it?" "Your mother sold it, 3 months ago, without informing any of the other owners, including you." The restaurant suddenly felt too warm, too crowded. "That's not possible. She'd need signatures." "Forged them. All of them. I have proof." Lucia's voice was gentle but firm. "She's been planning this, Elena. They all have. The money they gave Bobby? It's just the tip of the iceberg." My phone buzzed. Monica sending a screenshot of Bobby's latest social media rant. "Family is everything until success makes you forget where you came from." "Funny," Lucia commented, reading over my shoulder. "They never seem to forget where to find us when they need money." "Did you ever confront them?" I asked. "About the trust fund?" "I tried. Got the same response you're getting now. Bible verses, family loyalty lectures, gaslighting about how I was imagining things." She smiled grimly. "But I did something they didn't expect." "What?" "I documented everything, every transaction, every lie, every manipulation. built a case so solid they couldn't twist their way out of it. She pulled out a USB drive. Just like you're doing now. I stared at the small device. What's on it? Everything. Bank records, property documents, emails, 10 years of their financial fraud, including what they did to you. She slid it across the table. Consider it insurance. My phone lit up again. Dad this time. We're still coming tomorrow. This ends now. They have no idea, do they? Lucia mused. That we're 10 steps ahead? I thought about the meeting tomorrow, about Zechariah's carefully prepared documents, about the years of evidence I'd collected. You know what's ironic? I said. They taught us this. All those lectures about being careful with money, keeping receipts, protecting ourselves. They just never thought we'd use those lessons against them. That's the thing about narcissists, Lucia replied. They think they're the only ones who can play the game. The waiter brought our check. As I reached for it, Lucia caught my wrist. Let me, she said. Consider it a down payment on our new partnership. Partnership? She smiled. That same sharp smile that had probably terrified our family years ago. You're not the only one who's been planning, cousin. What they did to us, it's happening to other women too, other families, and we're going to help them fight back. My phone buzzed one final time, Zechariah confirming tomorrow's meeting details. Everything was in place. You know they'll try to destroy us for this, I said. Lucia laughed, a real laugh, warm and fierce. Oh, honey, they already tried that. Now it's our turn. We stepped out into the evening air. 2 exiles turned allies. Somewhere across town, my parents were probably planning their attack for tomorrow, believing they still held all the cards. They had no idea what was coming. Ready for tomorrow? Lucia asked as we parted ways. I thought about the USB drive in my bag, about 10 years of receipts, about all the women like us who'd been silenced by family loyalty. Ready, I replied. Let's show them what daughters of Jezebel can really do. The doorbell rang at exactly 7 p.m. I watched through my security camera as Mom smoothed her hair and Dad adjusted his tie, their battle armor for confrontation. Bobby stood behind them, looking less confident than usual. I buzzed them in. Zechariah and Lucia were already seated in my home office, documents spread across the table. Elena? Mom's voice carried down the hallway. Sweetheart? In here, I called back. They filed in, faltering slightly at the sight of Lucia. Mom's face went pale. What is she doing here? Dad demanded. Sitting, Lucia replied smoothly. It's what people generally do during financial audits. Financial? Elena, what is this? Mom's voice trembled. I gestured to the chairs. Please, sit down. We have a lot to discuss. If this is about Bobby's house, Dad started. This is about everything, I interrupted, opening my laptop. Every loan, every emergency, every missing dollar, including the villa in Spain. Mom's hand flew to her throat. I don't know what you're— Save it, Lucia cut in. We have the documentation, all of it. Zechariah cleared his throat. Mrs. Bennett, Mr. Bennett, I'm afraid you're in quite a serious situation. Fraud, unauthorized property sale, forged signatures. This is ridiculous. Dad slammed his hand on the table. We're family. Elena, stop this nonsense right now. I pulled up the spreadsheet. My karma audit, as I'd started calling it. Let's start with last year. March, you needed $15,000 for Mom's knee surgery, money that never made it to the hospital. April, $12,000 for Dad's truck repairs. May, $8,000 for your anniversary cruise. June. We paid you back, Bobby interjected. No, I corrected. You promised to pay me back. There's a difference. Elena, Mom's voice turned pleading. Everything we did was for this family. You're successful. You could afford— Could I? I turned the laptop toward them. Because while I was paying your bills, I was also taking out business loans, postponing my own life, draining my savings, all while you were secretly funneling money into Bobby's house fund. Dad stood up. This is emotional manipulation. No, Lucia said quietly. This is accountability, something this family has always been allergic to. I pulled out a manila envelope. This contains evidence of the unauthorized sale of the Spanish villa. Property that belonged to all the grandchildren, not just you, Mom. Care to explain? Mom burst into tears. You're destroying this family. Actually, Zechariah interjected, the fraudulent property sale did that, along with the forged signatures, misappropriated funds, and what appears to be a pattern of financial exploitation. Bobby had gone very quiet. The house payments, you're really not going to help? Nick's lawyer called yesterday, I told him. You knew you couldn't afford it, didn't you? You were counting on me to bail you out, just like always. You're my sister, and you're my brother, but that doesn't make me your bank. Dad moved toward the door. We're leaving. This is absurd. Leave if you want, I said calmly. But these documents are going to the authorities either way. The only question is whether you want to handle this privately or in court. You wouldn't dare, Mom whispered. Lucia laughed, a cold, sharp sound. Like you dared to steal my trust fund? Like you dared to sell property that wasn't yours? That was different, Mom protested. How? I asked. Because it benefited you? Because you thought you'd never face consequences? Silence filled the room. Heavy, suffocating silence. Here's what's going to happen, Zechariah stated, pulling out more papers. You're going to sign these documents acknowledging the debt. You're going to sell your house to repay the fraudulent property sale. And you're going to leave Elena and Lucia alone. Or, Dad challenged. Or I file these papers first thing tomorrow morning. Your choice. Mom collapsed into a chair, sobbing. Bobby stared at the floor. Dad's face had turned an alarming shade of red. Elena, Mom choked out, will you ever forgive us? I looked at her, really looked at her, the woman who taught me to be strong, then resented me for it, who preached family loyalty while betraying it. I didn't do this to hurt you, I said quietly. You did that all by yourself. Every time you chose Bobby over me. Every time you lied. Every time you took and took and took, calling it love. Please. The papers are on the table. Sign them or don't, but either way, we're done. They signed, one by one, hands shaking, they signed. As they left, Bobby turned back. You know this makes you just like them, right? Using money to hurt people? No, Lucia answered for me. This makes her smart enough to stop letting people hurt her. The door closed behind them. In the sudden quiet, I could hear my heart beating, steady, strong, free. Well, Zechariah gathered the papers. That's phase 1 complete. Phase 1? I asked. Lucia smiled. Remember that partnership we discussed? Time to help other daughters break their chains. You ready for this? Monica asked, watching me hover over the post button. Once it's out there, you can't take it back. I glanced at my screen where my Reddit post waited. I documented my family's financial abuse for 10 years. Today, I finally stopped it. It needs to be told, I said and clicked. Within hours, the post exploded. Thousands of upvotes, hundreds of comments, all sharing similar stories. Women trapped by family obligation, drained by entitled siblings, guilt-tripped into financial suicide. Look at this one, Lucia pointed to a comment. My parents remortgaged their house 3 times. Each time they made me cover the payments because family helps family. I lost my own house saving theirs. My phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Saw your post. Same thing happened to me. How did you get out? Then another. Please help. My brother's destroying my credit. And another. My parents forged my signature too. I thought I was alone. You've started something, Monica said softly, I opened my email to find a message from a major online publication. Would you be willing to share your story? We believe this is part of a larger pattern. Lucia leaned over my shoulder. Do it. But first, I have something to show you. She pulled out her laptop, opened a folder labeled Family Archives. Remember how I said I documented everything? She clicked through files, emails, bank statements, voice recordings. It wasn't just about the money. Look at this. A series of messages appeared. Mom coordinating with other relatives, planning how to pressure me into various loans. Dad discussing how to leverage my duty as a daughter. Bobby admitting he never intended to repay anything. They had a whole system, Lucia explained, a playbook for emotional manipulation, and they used it on others before us. My phone lit up with a text from Zechariah. You need to see this. Bobby filed for bankruptcy, listed you as a creditor. Of course he did, I muttered. That's not all, Zechariah continued. Your parents are trying to claim you stole from them. They're building a counter-narrative. Monica grabbed her laptop. Already on damage control. She pulled up my viral Reddit post, where supportive comments were flooding in faster than I could read them. Let them try, Lucia said. We have receipts, literal and figurative. I started typing my response to the publication. Yes, I'll tell my story, but it's bigger than just me. It's about generational patterns of financial abuse disguised as family obligation. Wait, Monica interrupted. Look at this. She turned her screen to show a Facebook post from Mom. With heavy hearts, we must address the lies being spread about our family. Our daughter, influenced by toxic individuals, has chosen money over blood. Toxic individuals? Lucia laughed. That's rich coming from the woman who stole her niece's trust fund. My phone buzzed again. Nick. Elena, we need to talk. Bobby showed me some documents that don't match what you posted. Forward that to me, Zechariah texted immediately. They're getting desperate. I looked at the growing response to my post, the women sharing their own stories, the pattern emerging clear as day. Then I did something I'd been planning for months. I opened a new document and started writing. An open letter to daughters who were made to pay. I see you. The ones who were told that love means empty bank accounts. The ones who were called selfish for having boundaries. The ones who were made to feel guilty for their success. What are you doing? Monica asked. Creating a blueprint, I replied, for every woman who needs to escape what I did. Lucia nodded approvingly. Add the legal resources, the documentation strategies, everything we learned. My phone kept buzzing. More messages, more stories, more women finding their voice. They're going to say you're bitter, Monica warned, that you're airing dirty laundry. Let them, I said, still typing. The truth doesn't need their permission. A notification popped up. Bobby had gone live on Facebook again, crying about family betrayal. But this time, the comments weren't sympathetic. Other stories were emerging, other victims of his financial schemes speaking up. Your parents just listed their house, Zechariah texted. Below market value. They're scrambling. Lucia squeezed my shoulder. Ready for phase 2? I looked at my screen, at the growing community of women sharing their stories, at the blueprint we were creating for escape and recovery. More than ready, I replied, and added one final line to my open letter. To every daughter who was made to pay for the privilege of being family, your worth isn't measured in dollars given or debts forgiven. Your freedom starts the moment you stop accepting guilt as currency. I hit post just as another message came through, from a women's advocacy group. We'd like to help you create a formal program. Too many women need this. See? Lucia smiled. Sometimes the best revenge isn't staying quiet. It's helping others find their voice. Monica raised her coffee cup. To karma, and making it a tax write-off. Your brother forged your signature, Zechariah announced, spreading documents across my office table. Multiple times, actually. On loan applications, credit cards, even a car lease. I stared at the papers, at Bobby's clumsy attempt to replicate my signature. When? Over the past year. He was setting up a safety net, planning for when the house scheme fell apart. Zechariah pointed to a date. This one's from just 2 weeks before they gave him the down payment. Lucia, who'd been quietly observing, leaned forward. He knew. They all knew this would happen. My phone buzzed. Monica sending screenshots of Mom's latest social media crusade. Prayer warriors needed. Satan is attacking our family through material greed. They're selling the house, Lucia reported, scrolling through her phone. Listed it yesterday, way under market value. They have to, Zechariah explained. The fraud investigation is gaining momentum. Better to sell now than lose it in court. Another buzz. A text from Nick. Elena, I'm filing charges against Bobby. The evidence you shared, there's more victims. Many more. I started typing a response when my office door burst open. Bobby stood there, face red, eyes wild. How could you? He shouted. They're losing everything because of you. Sir, you can't be here. My assistant called from behind him. Because of me? I stood slowly. Not because of the fraud, the forgery, the years of theft disguised as family obligation. I was going to pay it back, once the house appreciated. Once you'd squeezed more money out of me? I held up the forged documents. Like with these? He paled slightly. Those aren't... I can explain. Save it for the investigators, Zechariah interrupted. They're very interested in your explanation. Bobby's face crumpled. Mom and Dad are devastated. They might lose their retirement. They lost their retirement the moment they chose to enable you, Lucia said coldly. Elena just exposed what they did to themselves. My phone rang. Dad, I answered on speaker. Elena. His voice was rough. We need to talk. Face to face. Nothing left to say, Dad. Please. Your mother, she's not well. The stress of getting caught, Lucia interjected. Silence then. Lucia? You're still poisoning my daughter's mind? No, Uncle Stuart. Just helping her see clearly. Something you never wanted. Bobby moved toward me, hands raised pleadingly. Sis, please, we can fix this. Make it right. Make it right? I pulled up my documentation folder. Like when you made right the $15,000 you borrowed for your startup? Or the $8,000 for your ex-girlfriend's ring? Or should we talk about the credit cards you opened in my name? I was desperate. You were entitled, I corrected. There's a difference. My assistant appeared with security. Bobby didn't resist as they let him out, but his last words hung in the air. You'll regret destroying this family. The family destroyed itself, Lucia said quietly. We're just refusing to sync with it. My phone buzzed again. A message from the Women's Advocacy Group. Support group launches next week. 20 women already registered. You're changing lives. Dad was still on the line. Elena, whatever you want. Name your price. Just stop this. That's the problem, Dad. You still think this is about money. Then what? What do you want? I thought about the women in the support group, about Lucia's stolen trust fund, about years of manipulation and guilt. I want you to understand what you did, not just to me, but to every woman you taught to sacrifice herself for family. Every daughter you treated like a bank account. We loved you, he whispered. No, you used me. There's a difference there too. After I hung up, Lucia showed me her phone. Mom and Dad's house had sold. Well below value, cash offer, immediate closing. They're running, she observed. Let them, I replied. The documentation is already with the authorities. Zechariah gathered his papers. The fraud investigation goes public next week. More victims are coming forward. This is bigger than your family now. My phone lit up with another message. From a woman in the support group. You gave me courage to check my credit report. Found out my parents took out loans in my name too. Thank you for helping me see the truth. That's what terrifies them most, Lucia mused. Not the money, not the legal consequences. It's the truth finally being spoken. I looked around my office, at the evidence of my success, at the life I'd built despite them, at the community growing from the ashes of what they'd tried to destroy. You know what Mom used to say? I told Lucia. A good daughter keeps family secrets. She smiled grimly. Good thing we're not interested in being good daughters anymore. My phone buzzed one final time. Monica, your story just got picked up by a major network. Ready to go national with this? I thought about all the other daughters out there, drowning in family obligation and financial abuse. Ready, I replied. It's time everyone heard the truth. Welcome to Financial Freedom for Daughters, I addressed the packed conference room. I'm Elena, and like many of you, I was taught that love means empty bank accounts. Hundreds of women looked back at me, some tearful, some angry, all nodding in recognition. Lucia stood at the back, giving me a thumbs up. Today we're going to talk about breaking chains, I continued. About the difference between family loyalty and financial abuse. About... The door opened. Mom slipped in, thin and pale, trying to be invisible in the back row. Our eyes met briefly before I continued. About the moment you realize that saying no doesn't make you a bad daughter. After the session, while women lined up to share their stories, Monica rushed over with her laptop. Bobby's sentencing just came down, she announced. 3 years for fraud. Nick's testimony sealed it. And Dad? Lucia asked, joining us. Fled to Spain last week, Monica replied. But the authorities there are already aware of the property fraud. It's only a matter of time. I noticed Mom still sitting in the back, clutching her purse. When our eyes met again, she stood and walked over slowly. Elena. Her voice was barely a whisper. I watched your interview on television. All of it? I asked. Even the parts about the forged documents? The stolen trust fund? She flinched. I didn't know about all of it. Bobby told us. Save it, Lucia cut in. You knew enough. Mom's hands twisted together. Your father. He's not well. The stress of consequences, I corrected. Different from the stress he put me under all those years? We're losing everything, she said quietly. No, Mom. You're losing what was never really yours, including me. She reached for her phone, hands shaking. I want to show you something. She pulled up a familiar spreadsheet, my karma audit. I've been adding to it, everything we took, everything I did. Lucia and Monica exchanged glances. Why? I asked. Because you were right. About all of it. The manipulation, the guilt, the theft. Tears rolled down her cheeks. I was wrong. We were wrong. Mom. No, let me finish. I watched those women today, telling their stories. They were telling my story too. The story of what I did to my daughter. What my mother did to me. I thought about Lucia's trust fund, about generational patterns. The house sold, Mom continued. I'm using my half to pay back the trust fund, Lucia's trust fund. It won't fix anything, but it's a start, Lucia said quietly. My phone buzzed, another message from our support group. My mother just called, said she watched Elena's interview. She's finally ready to talk about what happened. Mom stood straighter. I'd like to, if you'll let me, I want to tell my story, about being the mother who hurt her daughter. Maybe it will help other mothers stop. I looked at Lucia, who nodded slightly. The next session is Thursday, I said. Be ready to tell the whole truth. I will. She turned to leave, then paused. Elena, I'm sorry, not because we got caught, because we hurt you. After she left, Monica whistled low. Well, that was unexpected. Think she means it? Lucia asked. I watched through the window as Mom walked to her car, not the luxury sedan she used to drive, but a modest used model. Maybe, I replied. But that's not why we do this anymore. My phone lit up with notifications. More women finding their voice, more daughters breaking free. More mothers facing truth. Lucia squeezed my shoulder. Ready for the next session? I looked around the room where hundreds of women had just shared their stories, where my mother had finally spoken truth instead of manipulation, where patterns were breaking, one story at a time. You know what Bobby said to me once? I told them. Family is everything until success makes you forget where you came from. And? Monica prompted. He was wrong. Success didn't make me forget. It made me remember exactly who I am, not despite them, but because I survived them. My phone buzzed one last time. A message from Zechariah. Trust fund repayment received. Lucia's account restored. Justice served. Speaking of justice, Lucia smiled. The nonprofit paperwork came through. Daughters Freedom Fund is officially launched. Monica raised her water bottle. To karma, and making it sustainable. I thought about Mom's tearful confession, about Bobby's sentencing, about Dad running from consequences, about all the daughters still finding their way to freedom. To truth, I corrected, and all the women brave enough to speak it. Outside, the sun was setting on another day of breaking chains. Tomorrow would bring more stories, more healing, more women choosing themselves over family obligation. But tonight, in this room where truth had finally been spoken, I was no longer the good daughter, the convenient ATM, or the family fixer. I was simply Elena. And that was more than enough.